Morning, live streamers. Welcome to the summer. Welcome to the off season. Gentlemen, I felt like yesterday we were engrossed in what was the Gamecock baseball season. It was a lengthy discussion about it appropriately after losing a couple of back-to-back games and a disappointing finish to a year that saw the Gamecocks end up hosting a regional as a 2 seed and the whole deal. And now it's time to move forward, move the conversation forward. Big day for SEC baseball, though. Yesterday, with 4 SEC teams, all 4 that had a chance, ended up advancing to the Super Regionals, including late last night. It was LSU coming back. I tried to stay up. I think it was after midnight when Oregon had hit a home run in maybe the top of the 7th. I believe they might have been the visitor, whatever it was. They were up 7-6, I think, after LSU had come back from down 5-2. And then ends up being a balk that gets LSU the game-winning run, the regional clinching run out at Oregon, pulling off the upset there. And Paul Mainieri's career gets extended to the Super Regionals. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and then Arkansas as well. If you guys missed that last night, I guess you guys were in the hockey. You were in the Islanders Brewers, Patrick. Is that where you were at last night? I know, Bill, you said you had your power knocked out, so you didn't have a whole lot of options, huh?
Well, yeah, I was able to get through about two periods, and it was actually when my power went out, I think it was 4-2 going into the third. And then, Jen, you're not too far from me. Did you have a power issue last night, or was that just me? Well, Jen's there not this morning, but
maybe having
not sure what happened.
Power issue right now.
Yeah, but so I ended up losing power for like a long time last night, for about 5 or 6 hours. So it was an early bedtime.
It was a great third period. Boston poured it on them in the third period, and they just barely held on.
5-4 is what I ended up doing is I have unlimited data on the iPads for the kids. That way, if you ever travel anywhere, they can watch Netflix or play games, do whatever they want on their iPads. And so it dawned on me, like, oh wait, I can get one of their iPads and get YouTube television on it. And of course, by the time I did it, it was right there at the end. So I watched a little bit on the iPad. I watched a little bit of the Canadians Jets game, and I was like, God, this is boring. It's not the Bruins.
No, that series has been really boring, actually, and thankfully it's over.
So I went to bed, but yeah, it was a weird night because I was watching that. I don't know if I can get back into college baseball anymore after that. I think, I talked to a couple people yesterday about it. Just the fact that now it looks like had of South Carolina been able to win their series, of course, their regional still scheduled to wrap up at about 9 or start at 9:06 this morning after all the rain last night. Old Dominion and Virginia will have an early morning game down there at Founders Park. But now that it looks like South Carolina could have hosted or would have hosted a super regional, probably another bitter pill to swallow for Gamecock fans. And it's just hard to it's going to be hard for me to stay in touch with it and in touch with what's going on now. To be hockey, maybe we'll head toward a little bit of NBA playoffs. We'll see if I can get into that and enjoy the summer.
From the baseball perspective, I get where you're coming from the Gamecock perspective, but from the overall baseball perspective. And that Dallas Baptist Oregon one, I'm going to retweet this thing, and it's not maybe the greatest quality replay, but kid from Dallas Baptist, it's a go-ahead grand slam. Sits there and watches it at the plate, and the umpire comes out and waves him on to first. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. In a moment of absolute triumph, an official gets in the way, and in my opinion, just kind of screws it up. And and that's one of the things that irks me more than anything else. When umpires, when basketball referees, when a football ref tries to make it about them, or just doesn't understand their role in the game. Thank you for taking all the grief, right? It's a thankless job, and you got to really love the sport to do it. But guess what? You're getting paid. You're not a volunteer. You're there to do a job. Get out of the way. But that one was a dramatic game for sure.
Will he hear something about that tomorrow or today?
What's that?
Will that ump hear something about that? Like when they do their reviews or whatever, will someone reprimand him and be like, dude, you're not a player. Don't make yourself part of the game when it's unnecessary?
Guess it depends on the head of the officials that's doing the review, right? What his attitude is about that. Because, I mean, there is a problem in baseball in general. We talked about the strikeout problem that the Gamecocks had. And Old Dominion took it to a new level against Virginia Sunday night at Founders Park, striking out 24 times out of the 27 outs. There's a problem trying to hit too many home runs in baseball. Then Fernando Tatis Jr. for the San Diego Padres, I felt like leading a national wave of changing the attitudes, maybe, of being able to have fun with baseball. Trevor Bauer, what is the loudest voice from the pitching standpoint, saying, yeah, the guy does that. He deserves to be able to celebrate in the whole thing. But there are still plenty of old school baseball people who are of the mindset of you got to respect the game, and that's showing up the pitcher and the whole thing, and you move on. But in that moment, man, I think you just got to understand the role. You got to give the leeway to the celebration and the fun. The Arkansas game last night is what I was watching. Arkansas, Nebraska trying to pull a huge upset against the number 1 seed, right? And I think it was 7 of the 16 regionals ended up going to a game 7. That's that if necessary game, like winner take all. And that's what was happening at Ballin Stadium last night. And Nebraska was out to the lead. They were up 2-1, I think, when I turned it off. Arkansas ended up tying it up at 2. And what a scene it was. They got 10,000 plus there, something crazy. It's 2-2. Bottom 8. Nebraska goes to the bullpen with a couple of runners on. The count was already 2-0. This poor pitcher comes in, and it's got to be every pitcher's tweeted it out as it was happening, and then it happened even more. It was 2-0, so the guy comes in, throws 2 balls, walks, bases loaded. Then you get a wild pitch. Arkansas goes up, and then the next pitch. Arkansas had a dude at the plate, pinch hitting. The guy was 7 for 11 this year, pinch hitting. And in this instance, he makes it 8 for 12 with a 3-run bomb. 6-2, I think, the final score there. Arkansas moves on as the number 1 overall seed, and that was quite the scene in college baseball. One of the reasons I think as why we heard as much frustration, bitterness, anger, whatever you want to call it, vitriol about Carolina's exit from the regional yesterday from Gamecock fans is because Carolina fans no longer part of that. That's kind of how I translated what I heard yesterday, Bill. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think as people have watched this unfold, the opportunity to host a super regional, whether or not they would have won it, whether they would have been able to get to Omaha, certainly remains to be seen, even if they'd have hosted. But to not be able to feel like a path was laid out pretty nicely for you, and to not be able to take advantage of it, to be held to 1 run against Old Dominion's second pitcher, to struggle in the way that they did against Virginia, maybe a bad break here or there, some bad execution obviously here and there. I can understand where people are coming from, and don't blame them at all. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody you can't feel that way, and you should be perfectly happy with how the season went and accept it and move on to football season. There was plenty of opportunities for South Carolina right now to still be playing baseball and possibly holding a super regional, and everybody be getting very excited for this weekend. But instead, I actually started doing a little bit of my deep dive into some football recruiting yesterday as the Gamecocks hosted more visitors and looking at video and film and seeing who I thought might be pretty good and who might not. So that's where we stand here now on June the 8th.
Yeah, what'd you come up with? I saw you were talking about maybe a big receiver coming into town or something to that effect. And was Dutch Fork's Antonio Williams was the headliner over the weekend on campus on an off or an unofficial visit.
Yeah, Jadon Gibson, a 6'5", 6'6" wide receiver out of Winter Park, Florida, a guy who's got offers from Miami and Florida. I don't know how much Florida's necessarily pushing for him, but Miami certainly wants him right now. Florida's got a pretty good receiving board there that they're looking at for recruits. But a bunch of these guys that I was talking with somebody about this late yesterday afternoon, just in terms of recruiting, that still does scouting, and they were just talking about, you look at the rankings for these guys, and with some of these websites, Rivals and 24/7, not being able to go and do the camps as they normally would, a lot of teams, a lot of players having shortened high school seasons last year, that you're going to see these rankings evolve and change. And this is a guy, Gibson here, who's got a bunch of really good offers, who's about a mid 3-star, who's going to see his stock really rise over the next few months as people get a chance to see him. He was down at an Orlando 7-on-7 camp recently, and was very impressive. Again, big, tall receiver that you can pair. I think South Carolina's going to take 4 or 5 receivers in this class. You know, they're going to try and turn that wide receiving room around. Kylie Horton, I believe is how you say his name. A young man that picked up an offer over the weekend, 6'3", 190 pounds, out of Calhoun Academy, plays 8-man football. I'm trying to confirm this because this just seems absurd. But we talk about 3 sports stars. Kylie Horton, who came to South Carolina's camp last week, apparently showed off some athleticism because he's on an 8-man football roster. Nobody really kind of tends to notice that. But I'm trying to confirm yesterday with just somebody I know, plays quarterback, defensive back, and then wide receiver for Calhoun Academy, averaged 41 points per game on the basketball court, and hit 8 home runs for his baseball team this past season. I would say that's a
3-on-3 basketball and slow pitch softball as well, or
Just rude. How dare you? It's
Yeah.
dominating.
and 8-man football. It's 5 linemen still, right? I tried to look into it a little bit yesterday.
It's 3.
No, I've been. I've covered it a little bit out in Texas. 8-man football is fantastic. It's definitely
it's a wild.
more like basketball on grass, right? But it's football out there. I mean,
Is it
comes
5
down
linemen?
to blocking and tackling. now.
Three linemen. 3 linemen. It's like 7-on-7. You're adding 2 linemen basically to it and taking away.
I read basically said it was out of necessity because registration numbers were down, and that kind of like
Well, it's like the lowest level of SCISA. It's a very low level of SCISA. So your enrollment for a school. I know at one point I had entertained the option of going to King's Academy, kind of up towards Greenwood. I forget exactly where it's at, to play basketball for my senior year. And one of the selling points was like, hey, you can probably play football up here too. You can play football 8-man. So I learned a little bit about it. It was kind of interesting. So that was 21 years ago.
What made you not pull the plug or make the move?
I'd grown up with everybody in Lexington. I knew we had a great team. The option, the chance to actually play at Lexington or be the 7th, 8th, 9th man was still just growing up with your friends in high school and disappearing for your senior year. It was a lot of people. I grew up in Lexington. I started going to Lexington Elementary when I was 5 years old. There was a lot of people just from my senior year. I didn't want to not be around just to go play basketball. I was on the team at Lexington. I just wasn't a starter. And I thought it'd be a lot more fun to enjoy my senior year with my friends, my senior year of high school. It's one thing I'm always glad that I had a lot of really neat people around me, and people, like I said, that at that time I'd grown up with and spent, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and just didn't want to leave. And plus I struggle to get up as it is. It's a surprising thing that Tim, we're roughly about a month away from a 5-year anniversary here on this show. But so getting up at 6 a.m. may seem natural, but getting up and driving that far to school was not an entertaining thought to me.
Probably could have gotten some college credits out of the way and gotten out of school.
Yeah, Patrick, because it's 6 years to get a history degree. Knocking out some college credits in high school was something I was really concerned about.
803-404-6100 is the number in the program if you would like to join. You're talking about possibly considering going to another school. That brings up the news from yesterday as well. Jeff Heinrich, who saw some action for Gamecock baseball in the last couple of years. A JUCO transfer coming in, ended up playing third base semi-regularly probably this year, second base a little bit more last year. I think he announced he is transferring out of the Gamecock baseball program. We'll as we move on this morning, we'll continue to discuss what we think is coming back from Mark Kingston and company and where that program is. We did a lot of that yesterday. That will certainly not be all of our conversation for today. The headlining news yesterday in a lot of ways was Nick Saban signing a contract extension through 2028. I saw the tweet out there, I forget who put it out, about the theory that Dabo Swinney will take over for Nick Saban. The tweet said, boy, that could take a hit if Dabo ends up retiring before Saban does, just as a joke. But 2028, that would be through 77 years old, I believe, where Nick Saban sits today at 69, about to turn 70, not too long from now. We've discussed his future. We will continue to do that as we roll on this morning. Would love to hear your thoughts. Again, 404-6100 if you would like to call or text here. Just getting started on a Tuesday morning. Hope your Tuesday's off to a good start. It's the early game. It's 107.5.
It's a new year.
Be right.
All right. Yeah, going to bed that early throws me completely off. Jen, y'all didn't have any power issues last night? No, she probably about to do traffic.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center,
Yeah.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
Oh,
ShepherdsGlass.com.
crap. Patrick, hold the fort down. We're going to turn
Pretty
on the
good out on
law
the
here.
highways this morning. No major tie-ups to speak of. Do have a report of a disabled vehicle, I-26 eastbound between I-20 and Bush River Road. Shouldn't slow things down, but it might just as people are wanting to take a little bit of a peek. And weather-wise, going to see rain in the forecast again this afternoon, maybe a thunderstorm this evening. Looking for a high today of 85, scattered storms tomorrow, high of 88. And right now it's overcast. And it's just kind of muggy. It's 73 at 107.5 the game.
Green team.
There we go. Yeah, Sonny, 24/7 is down. I think.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is. I tried on my computer and phone to double check.
Yeah, I just get something that says unaccessible.
We can talk about the finger biting scandal that's rocking the lacrosse world right now.
Of course.
There's a video of a guy, two professional lacrosse players got in a fight before opening weekend, and one guy bit the other guy's finger like off, like the whole top of his finger is completely bitten off. It's outrageous.
Okay, that's disgusting.
Kidding. Some relation to Mike Tyson or what?
I want to send this video because I mostly want to watch Bill watch it.
Will there be a better sporting thing in 2021 than Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship?
No. Bill, watch the video I just sent you on Twitter.
Where did you send it?
All of you.
Did you just text it to me or
Twitter.
is this the guy biting the other guy's finger?
No, it's just the aftermath.
Oh, dude.
All I see is a
What
bloody
the
hand.
heck?
I'm out on that one.
How crazy is that? That's what my dude's
Matt Patrick.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good
Dang.
morning, everybody. No, I was gonna say,
Brutal.
did y'all see the video? Did y'all see the video from what was it, Saturday or Sunday, of Mickelson driving his golf cart, I guess, to his local club with the PGA trophy next to him? And he said, "Good morning, everybody. Just heading to the club. Me." He puts the camera over. Mr. Wanamaker. Just your friendly reminder. I won the PGA championship.
I think he's going to do that every day. Well, it's not going to be long before it gets annoying.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That might be the greatest sporting thing of 2021. There actually was a couple like off-topic topics that I had last night before I went to bed at 8:30.
I know there's a lot of drama in baseball about foreign substances that I didn't read about at all, but just saw a ton of headlines.
There is a video.
Is it DeGrom?
I don't know, but of a Virginia pitcher going to his hat, and you get a stain on the hat, man.
Oh, they were talking about that. Jay was the guy said he was very. Who did he compare to? He compared to. It was right in Tommy's wheelhouse. Some pitcher from the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Gaylord Perry. Gaylord Perry.
Gaylord
Yes.
Perry, yep.
Legend. I just saw people talk about Jacob DeGrom and a bunch of people saying there's a bunch of other pitchers coming to Jacob DeGrom's defense saying he would never do that and he doesn't need it. So I didn't know if he was like accused of something or they're just saying he's too good. He must be using a banned substance.
Huh.
I don't know. He is the best pitcher in baseball, right?
Yep.
Clarendon Hall, thank you. Not Calhoun Academy. Why did I think Calhoun Academy?
Yeah, that's what I saw. You guys might be talking about two different people. I definitely saw somebody tweeting something out about a Calhoun Academy kid. Maybe that original information was wrong.
Yeah, it might have been. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, those schools are so small, but yeah.
But Neil did graduate 26th in his class, so
Who? Who?
text.
Oh, I couldn't get on the
Texas.
text line.
I was like, you're having all kinds of problems.
Was he bragging about that? How do people
Now
I'm
it says
pretty sure.
my access is forbidden. Good.
how do people know how they finished in their graduating class?
I got a number.
You guys know where you finished in your graduating classes?
I
No,
do.
I don't know the
Yeah.
first idea.
we had like 700 people in our class.
We had
Yeah,
like 400, and I couldn't even begin to guess where I finished.
We had 400 in our high school.
Yeah.
We're heading back in.
Like 135, maybe my graduating class. Maybe one. It's supposed to be 160. Lost a few there towards the end.
Guys are up.
I mean, if anybody deserves a lifetime contract in sports, isn't it Nick Saban? Well, I don't even understand what Alabama's doing here. 3 more years. 2028 was the news from yesterday, extending Nick Saban's contract. 8.4 is what he's making this upcoming season. And the new deal increases the salary to about $10 million over the life of the contract, I think, per year, if he ends up completing all of that stuff. I mean, can you imagine I can't imagine being Nick Saban's agent and going in with a straight face, like negotiating right now at this point.
What's he pocketing per year with bonuses as it is? Like every year he wins the national championship, he's definitely making more than 10, right? He probably has millions in his bank, right?
Well, to me, it's a massive number. Bill, is this a recruiting thing? That's the only thing I can figure out is if you put a number on this just to kind of flex right now and say, hey, this is going to continue and there's no need to worry about that number 70 that Nick Saban's about to hit, that he plans on being there for the long haul and completely rewriting all the record books, especially considering Steve Spurrier is the only 70-year-old SEC football coach. And when he was 70, it didn't work out well at South Carolina. That was his final year where he didn't even finish the season.
Yeah, what was Bowden when Bowden retired? Was Bowden or Paterno the oldest coach when they retired? Can anybody think of? Am I leaving somebody else out? That Bill Snyder seems like he was really old. I feel like Nick Saban looks.
Joe Paterno was 84.
When he were, you're just saying that, right? When he retired?
Yeah.
Well, if I remember correctly, it wasn't necessarily a retirement
True.
on his way out. And,
After 46.
To answer your question, the reason I was saying that is yes. I mean, I think that you're just trying to make sure everybody knows. But look, Nick Saban can step away when Nick Saban wants to step away, whether it's after this year or whether it's in 8 years. I don't know how much that's going to affect recruiting. I think, maybe if you're more, and I don't want to say transparent because I don't know if Alabama knows what the succession plan is. And obviously you can't come out and go, well, we're going to be eyeing up Dabo Swinney and Mario Cristobal and, Jimbo Fisher. You can't say that. But I think that's what more people would help recruit just as much, because the succession plan there is going to be one of the wildest things in sports, like what we're watching with Duke. I've never seen this with Duke, and going to a young guy in John Shire, a guy who has no head coaching experience, who's still going to be relatively young. I think John Shire is going to be 34 when he technically takes over for Krzyzewski in 2022, and how he goes about handling that. So you just throw years out there, because at this point, I mean, you're right. You may as well have just said, hey, it's going to be 10, it's going to be 12. But who really cares?
Bobby retired at 80, by the way.
It's Nick Saban's timeline. It's up to Nick Saban when he wants to step away, and it's not really up to Alabama's anymore, right?
That's why I just found it odd yesterday. Todd, the resident Alabama fan here, who will drop a Roll Tide every now and again, even though I think he tries to end all his texts with Roll Tide. On the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100, that is. Good morning, fellas, he says. The future looks very bright for the dynasty of the Kings of college football, as their supreme leader has signed a 3-year contract extension. For the rest of college football, look out. The national championship trophy will continue to reside in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Roll Tide. It's hard to poke holes in that theory, isn't it, at this point? After yesterday's news, especially?
I mean, you don't see it slowing down. I think what happens, what has to happen for Alabama to come back to the pack is college football has to work to create more parity. And one of the ways that we've kind of discussed that happening is giving a few other teams a chance in a college football playoff. That doesn't mean they're going to be better than Alabama, but you give them a one-game scenario to pull the big upset and eliminate, Alabama. Maybe that's where you start to create a little bit of parity within being able to say, hey, come here, and you're that one guy that's missing from us getting in. If you're a recruit, come here. You're the one guy missing from us getting in at the 6, 7, 8 spot in the seeds in the college football playoff, and then we've got a chance of being able to knock off one of the elites when the time comes. I don't know what they do, because as much as I love college football, and I sat down the other day and started already mapping out just my television viewing for the first 3 weeks of college football season, especially weeks 2 and 3, because I don't know if I'll go up to Greenville to East Carolina or not, and definitely won't be going to Georgia. But you start mapping it out. But as much as I love college football, it's going to be Alabama and Clemson in the college football playoff. I'd be shocked if it's not those two. It'll be one of Oklahoma or Ohio State, and then it'll be your one rando that shows up every year out of nowhere to crash the party, and that'll probably come from somebody like I think about who we've had: Washington, Michigan State, Notre Dame occasionally finds their way in there. Georgia has been the rando fourth team there before, and obviously got in the championship. LSU technically was the the random fourth team that got in a couple years ago. Obviously, they were the number one team, but you see that one other team pop up along with the other three. They're there pretty much each and every year.
So last year, the Cinderella runs of Lafayette and Coastal Carolina not giving you any hope that things are going to change substantially in college football?
To get to the college football playoff?
To shake things up from what
They
we've
weren't-
seen here in the last few years.
Yeah, no, they were not even close. I mean, as good as those were, what was it, Cincinnati, who had the best argument to try and sneak in, I believe. And they weren't really close there when it all came to being said and done there on the college football playoff final rankings. I think it was Cincinnati. I'd have to go back and look. But, the bottom line is the college football playoff is what needs tweaking for college football that could make it a better product in December and the beginning of January. The college football regular season is awesome. It's great, and it entertains us each and every Saturday. But when you can kind of go ahead and pick out what the final is going to look like, that's not quite as much fun, in my opinion. So I think you get expanded out. I wouldn't get all crazy. I don't see a need to slip out to 12 or 16. But I think just opening it to 8, and even if you want to be that, that's fine with me. If you want to be the person that says 5 conference champions and then 3 wild cards, or 5 conference champions, 2 wild cards, and a non-group of 5 team, so a Boise or a Cincinnati or Central Florida, that's fine. We can go down that path. But yeah, I think you've got it. That's something that's got to be looked at. I do think it's coming. I think you're going to see that. That's why you're seeing teams look way down the line, Georgia in particular, and start to schedule these big-time non-conference games, because 1 loss, probably 2, isn't going to impact you in the same manner that it does nowadays.
Yeah, Chris on the Facebook live stream says exactly why it needs to be more than 4 teams in the college football playoffs. Single teams each year. Blah. And Waddy add 2 more teams, give the top 2 seeds a bye. We're not going to do that. You come up with the college football playoff formula.
That's also not going to solve the problem of Alabama and Clemson playing in the national championship every year, or Ohio State, because they'll have.
Well, at least it will make it a little bit more interesting, right? And when you have to decide it on the field, I think that's when we at least feel a little bit better about it, as opposed to just a couple of games every single year. And like I mentioned, those Cinderella runs, even as amazing as they were last year for smaller schools, never really did come close to sniffing a championship run. I think if you can set it up to where that becomes more of a reality, it becomes more interesting for most of us out there. And you're right, Bill, it's headed that way. The college football playoff seems to be headed toward expansion. We're headed to the Love Chevy phone lines, where our favorite 86-year-old caller, Gamecock Larry's been waiting patiently this morning. He's always up for talking football, I know, but might be more on the super regional baseball rant right now, or been right now after last night's action and 6 SEC teams now in the super regionals. Gamecock Larry, how you feeling about things this morning?
First couple of years of Alexander's tenure baseball coach. So I just hope Coach Tanner don't let the fans make the decision for him. I think we got our programs on the way up. This is his 4th year. The first year he went to 1 game away from the World Series at Arkansas in the Super Regionals. The second year wasn't too good. Last year was COVID. This year, the gentleman called yesterday and said we got a regional handed it to us and we blew it. But we blew a lot of things in life. Everything's given to us. We blew it. We will blow it. But I'm not worried about the football program. I mean, the game. Lord have mercy. I'm not worried about the baseball team. We're going to be okay. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I want to put a little shout out to my friends out there at the Doan VA. I had to spend about 5 hours out there yesterday. But I'm doing okay now. But somebody told them I failed. I guess that was my big mouth daughter. She let them know everything. Don't ever take your wife to the doctor when you go, because, boy, they'll tell everything. But this is my daughter, well, my wife was the same way. But I'm doing okay. Hospital. He took care of me, got everything squared away, got the medicine, and about 5 o'clock, rolled me out there to the car to get in the car. But I didn't enjoy. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But Gamecock Nation, let's talk football now. I hope we do. I hope we do get the host of Super Regional. It's not about baseball. I just hope we get the host of Super Regional, because we'll have 3,000 or 4,000 fans, Virginia fans, or Old Dominion fans, or the other teams coming here. We'll have them in the stands. They'll be staying in our hotels, and they'll be eating at our fast foods and all that. So get over it. We lost. Good pitching to beat good hitting any time. Look at that game the other night against Old Dominion, Virginia. 24 strikeouts. Old Dominion, 170 something, I think. I don't know, home runs. Good pitching to beat good hitting any time. Go Gamecocks.
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen.
It's very selfless of him to pull for Columbia to host a super regional to stimulate the local economy.
Absolutely. Chamber of Commerce.
99% of fans want Virginia to win today just so that we don't have to deal with any more baseball in Columbia.
Well, it will be interesting to see what happens, especially that Dallas Baptist won, and they're so close to that Fort Worth regional out there where TCU is on the other side of things. I don't know if the higher seed gets the preference. I assume they would, because Old Dominion is the number 1 seed, you would go that way. Or if the NCAA is willing to pivot and go back on their original recommendations, their original protocol, I guess, where they said basically that this year is going to be different than all other years because of COVID protocols, and only regional sites will host super regionals. If they'll go back and change that now that both super regional teams that hosted, or both regional teams that hosted TCU and South Carolina, are out. The Columbia one, by the way, the only regional, still undecided, and weather forcing a 9 a.m. game this morning between Old Dominion and Virginia to finish this one out. It will be the 7th and final decisive game 7 out of the 16 regional rounds, and then I'm guessing we'll get the news. They're waiting on to see who wins that thing to decide where the super regional round will be. You guys see some of these super regional matchups, by the way. LSU's upset win last night at late against Oregon sets up the only all-conference matchup, Tennessee and LSU. LSU's headed to Knoxville to take on Tennessee, so there will be at least one SEC team in the College World Series. There are 6 out of the 16 in the super regional round. Vanderbilt, as the number 4 overall seed, going to host number 13 East Carolina. Ole Miss, the number 12 seed, goes on the road to Arizona. Mississippi State will be hosting Notre Dame in an SEC ACC matchup. I say kind of ACC, pseudo ACC. I still think of Notre Dame. Arkansas and NC State, another ACC SEC matchup. Arkansas, dramatic win last night in the winner-take-all game against Nebraska. You got an 8-9 matchup in Texas Tech hosting Stanford. Stanford clinching late last night as well. And then I guess the upset team in the super regional round is Mark Kingston's former program in South Florida as the number 4 seed in the Gainesville regional, knocking off former Gamecock pitching coach Mark Calvi in South Alabama yesterday, and South Florida moving to the super regional round for the first time. They'll be looking for a massive upset at number 2 national seed Texas moving forward. And then the only one undecided now is who will play Dallas Baptist, who upset TCU in that regional, upset Oregon State, really. I guess it depends how you look at it, but another national championship winning program, Dallas Baptist, I'm not sure if they've been in the super regional round yet or not. They've had a good baseball program for a while, but they'll be taking on the winner of this morning, the matchup Virginia and Old Dominion over at Founders Park, and then we'll wait to see. It could be one of those weird situations. Bill, I think Gamecock fans will probably be just salty and would not quite feel the same way about the economic driver that might be the super regionals in town, and just be salty that the Gamecocks aren't playing at all.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody cares or wants that particularly to happen. I think people are just ready to move on, maybe get their Athlon Sports magazines or Streets and Smiths, visit the beach, maybe hang out on the lake, do a little bit of grilling, get back to life as it is. I don't know. Maybe you just want to see some baseball. Maybe you're more than willing to purchase super regional tickets and watch. Some
good baseball.
I don't even know. You can do that on television, Jen.
I know.
I mean, I'm serious. I would assume that there would be other regionals that people would probably rather just tune into if you wanted to watch good baseball. I don't know. I don't know if people care that much anymore. It was a pretty deflating weekend, especially after Friday night or
But
Friday afternoon.
But they don't have to go. You can just be happy the fact that there is some money that's going to be infused into the local economy and look at it that way.
I just don't want there to be traffic. I'm trying to go to the river.
Well, there you go.
Patrick Perrette,
Out of the way.
@_ Patrick Perrette, where you can find
Some
him.
I don't- tattles on you at your
in
doctor's
all
appointments.
honesty, in all honesty, if it's Dallas Baptist and Old Dominion, I don't know what the fan bases are for those two, because you're right. If it's Virginia, I think Virginia probably hosts, right, Tim? Like Virginia, I would assume maybe would be able to host. But if it's Dallas Baptist and Old Dominion, are we talking about 3,000 or 4,000 people in that stadium?
No, I don't think you're talking about that many. I think you're talking about 1,200 maybe, max, somewhere in there. But who knows? This is a year unlike we've ever seen. This is a situation that we've never seen before. 803-404-6100 if you want to join the program. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks. Head football coach Shane Beamer.
I'm a process-driven person, and we're going to get started day one, advancing this program and making it better.
107.5 The Game.
I know it's cliche.
Oh, yeah. Power went out early last night, about 8:15, 8:30-ish. It was right there heading into the third period of the Islanders Bruins. That meant time to go to bed. There was nothing else to do. It was getting dark. May as well go to bed. You know, the sleep number bed didn't take long at all. Actually got a fantastic night of sleep after a busy weekend, and that's good because a great night of sleep positively affects your emotional well-being. Some of you on the text line probably should get a better night of sleep. You need to make the switch to a sleep number. Be a little bit happier person. Maybe wake up in a better mood. Maybe not be so angry each and every morning. I put my sleep number setting on 45, and I am refreshed, ready to go. Happy to be here. You can do the same. Don't miss the weekend special. You could save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed, plus free premium delivery and setup when you add a base. Exclusive offers available for military members, but this will end Monday. Again, the weekend special. Save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed, plus free premium delivery and setup when you add a base. Right now, all you got to do is visit two of the stores here in the Mills. One on Harbison Boulevard in Irma across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web. Sleepnumber.com is how you do that. Don't wait around and miss a chance for a great deal right now. Save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number 360 Special Edition Smart Bed. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
Your river comment, getting some feedback, Patrick.
We're all on the same page.
Traffic is bad enough. All right, I need to listen to this real quick and see if I can work with Jen to Tim, do we bring all the clubs today? I couldn't remember. Do we bring the whole bag?
Yep, I think that's how it works.
All right. Those two guys know that we're meeting at
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Jen, I'm going to send you an email that has a parking pass. Can you print it out, please, and end up getting it to the security guard person that's going to play with us? Doesn't do email. I was impressed with that. Good for you, sir. I don't know.
You need to email that to me. A
Gotten
parking
through
pass?
life.
The security guard at our building is playing with you?
No, they're going to pick it up at our building. The listener who won it. That would be different, right?
How did they get in contact with you about playing?
Bill gave it away the other day on the air.
Okay.
The other afternoon. I meant to do it Friday morning, but he did Friday afternoon.
How old is he?
I did not ask.
Doesn't do email.
Bill,
Just not into it.
As
You
long
got
as they
sick.
both know that I didn't mean we were playing Pinehurst number 2.
yeah, they're good. Or at least one of them's good. I need to call the other one to make sure he's good.
I don't want him driving up to Pinehurst number 2 today thinking that that's where we're playing.
You got yours in your email on Friday, sir, 11:49. Your Cumulus email.
Ah, here are your parking passes. Yes, please send over them. Got it. All right. I'm going to head to the office for a little while and then head on down. The 13 wood? Yeah, was it the 10? Was it your dad had the 5 wood, right? Or did your dad have the 13?
12 wood. How dare you?
Yeah.
Jen, you didn't answer me earlier. I know you've been busy. Did your power go out last night?
No.
It must have been something up here then. Obviously just down from you.
And I didn't hear the generator kick in either, so I think they're all right.
Must have been something. I don't know. I heard two explosions. Like one was about 8:15, the power went out, and then about 10:30 maybe-ish, 11. The power came back on for 30 seconds and there was another explosion. I was like, oh, that's not good.
We did, now that you say that, I do remember because I was working on cleaning out a closet, and then all of a sudden the lights kind of dimmed. But then after that, no, nothing.
Yeah, it was
That would have been about that time, too.
I don't know what was going on. Well, this looks entertaining.
What's that?
I believe this is the email you just forwarded me.
Oh yeah. Check that out. I don't know any of those names.
If you don't mind, I don't recognize any of the names either. I might let Austin pick.
That'd be awesome.
He'll be with me Thursday He'll be with me Thursday. So maybe if we aim for Thursday, would that be all right?
Sure.
Or if we had to, and I'll let him pick, and then that way he can sit right here with me and kind of maybe we can even let him get in on the interview because I think you and I are
Heading back in.
Sounds good.
Guess right.
So we've been discussing the major college football news from yesterday that Nick Saban signs an extension now through 2028, taken through 77 years old. Sad news from the football world yesterday. 71-year-old Jim Fossil, former Super Bowl winning coach with the New York Giants, passed away of a heart attack. And then, did you guys see what Robert Kraft was doing on his 80th birthday, or what he got? What kind of birthday present? Patrick, can you explain what's going on there?
I guess he has this dream Bentley that Michael Rubin, owner of the 76ers, Meek Mill, who Robert Kraft helped get out of jail, and Jay-Z pulled together money to buy him a Bentley. The tweet was hilarious because somebody tweeted out like it was a touching moment, and then the replies were just incredible. They were so funny. Everything you can imagine. Like, good of these guys to give a needy man his dream gift, and
30.
no one deserves this more than Robert Kraft and all sorts of stuff. It was very funny. The replies far outweighed the actual video.
Of course, immediately in our live chat, there have already been massage references.
Plenty of those too.
I was thinking antibiotics. 15.
That
Good
just
for him.
tells you the full spectrum of news from yesterday and where we are in June.
5.
Let's see where hour number 2 goes. Coming up next.
This is Todd Ellis, and you're listening to the Gamecocks. Sports at 5.
Yeah, so you want me to reply with a Thursday time there, Bill?
Yeah.
Would love to.
Yeah, like if you want to do like 8:45, do Big E or Drew McIntyre. That's actually the only two that we're available for.
Yeah.
If we do it, everybody else. I feel like we're the only show set up to do a WWE.
Patrick, you got a choice there or a preference? Drew McIntyre or Big E from the WWE world?
For what?
They're coming to Columbia, I guess. And so we're going to have one of them on live with us Thursday morning. Let me look up these dudes.
Drew McIntyre.
Any
Do you know who that is, or are you just responding?
No, but he's Scottish. That's way cooler.
Oh, right. He is Scottish.
Well, yeah. Dated a girl in middle school whose last name was McIntyre. That didn't necessarily make her Scottish.
Well, this guy is Scottish. So.
Oh, do you know him, or do you? I mean, not you.
No, I just looked him up. What they're coming this weekend?
Big E's a former football player. Let's see where he played. Played at University of Iowa. Sorry, yeah, that didn't do it for me. .5'11", 285 is pretty impressive, though. 6'5". Whew, doesn't even have his weight on there. Drew McIntyre. Massive.
All right, let me do something. I'm going to hop off here for a second. I need to listen to something and see if I can get something moved. I'll come right back.
Good luck, sir.
Drew McIntyre is 6'5", 265.
He weighs more than the guy who's 5'11".
What is coming? When you say
He's
WWE, don't they have several things?
Yep, I'll have it all figured out by Thursday's interview.
WWE Colonial Life Arena. Let's see.
Always up for some fun with the family. Some quality essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a few from the drive. The Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card receives a 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase up to 5 points in factors at this for rewards bank. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone would enjoy, like an old-fashioned combo. Visit bankofamerica.com/reward and find other activities on Bank of America. This is and a large drink for $5. Taco Bell's grande nachos truly deserve a grande.
All right, everybody just jetting on us, huh? Sunday.
I didn't know I dropped out. It's not till August. but tickets go on sale Friday morning.
You won't have to worry about people getting in your way going to the river until August. Good news.
I would go to a WWE show.
Have you been to one? I've never been.
No. My dad said he went one time when he was younger and hated it.
That's not of interest.
I never watched wrestling. I kind of wish I got into it at some point, but none of my friends were into it. And
I think if I had to watch one of them, it would just be like regular wrestling and not that ultimate stuff where like literally they're killing each other. The ultimate fighting.
Right.
It's just, to me, that's just too brutal.
Patrick, you see any of Mayweather's press conference? I watched a highlight video of it. Hilarious.
Something about being a legal bank robber. What do you say? Legal bank robber?
If I see an opportunity for a heist, I'm going to do it. Just talking about boxing, Jen, and how much money he makes.
Okay.
I thought the deal was that I saw that he was making $10 million just for showing up, and then 50% of the pay-per-view.
I mean, I guess I could get the crap beat out of me for that amount of money, you know. You can rest up.
He hardly gets touched.
Well, no, I know it. Just as a boxer in general, you know, like in more of the premier fights, it seems like, man, there's a lot of money to be made.
If they sold 1 million pay-per-views, then he was walking out with 35 million from that night.
It's insane.
Crazy.
He's made 100 million for 2 separate fights. Over 100 million for Pacquiao and McGregor, I think.
Wow.
And apparently still spends all of it.
Right. He's just like Gamecock Larry, looking to help out the local economy. That's all.
Right.
All right,
He's
Bill.
probably spent more money than most billionaires, to be honest.
Speaking of golf, they're looking forward to getting out just down Main Street, not too far away from our downtown studios, where Jen Jensen is producing in the Herndon Chevrolet studios this morning. 11:30 today, teeing off with a couple of listeners out there. Chuck, talk to him, and Michael going to join us for the United Way fundraiser, just right there on Main Street. Bill, last year it was the Ocean Course at Kiowa was what the virtual course was for that United Way fundraiser, and today it's going to be Pinehurst #2. And have you actually played that one in real life? I know you've been to Pinehurst and played a little bit. Have you played the #2?
No, I haven't. I'll actually be up there this weekend, but I don't think we're going to play Pinehurst #2. I know we're going to play the Cradle. That's kind of got a big guys trip this weekend. I'll actually leave the show about 8 a.m. on Friday to hit the road. Our first tee time, I believe is 11-ish, so we're going to have to boogie to get up there. But beautiful place. But one of the things that we like to do, if you've never been to Pinehurst #2, you can go out there. You can kind of sit on the back porch. They have a nice little clubhouse, obviously a great little pro shop there. You can go in and purchase some things, and then they have a neat kind of little bar that you can go and sit at. I'm kind of excited because last year was my first year, and obviously a lot of COVID stuff was going on. Didn't get to exactly experience it, but we'll go in there and hang out. And then you can walk out the back door and sit in some rocking chairs and watch people come in on 18. And I think last year it was like $380 to play. So instead, we elected to play what's called the Cradle, their little par 3 course that is off to the side. And you can pay $50 for the day. and play it as much as you want.
Good call.
And it's
Good call.
neat little experience. I'm just looking. So, yeah, we'll tee off Carolina Trace Country Club on Friday. Then we're going to play Beacon Ridge Golf Club on Saturday, and then Highland Golf Club on Sunday. And then I'll be back and looking very rested and fit on a Monday morning when I return to the show. But, yeah, we'll go hang out. We will go hang out at Pinehurst for a little while. And I did go to an open there several, maybe 12, 13 years ago. So it's been a while, but definitely a fun little place to go and hang out. And that little 8-hole par 3 course it's very relaxed. I think we had gone, and we'll probably do it again. We had gone after we played our Saturday round last year and went and hung out over there at it. And so, we'd already been playing and kind of hanging out. And by the time we got over there, we were all pretty whipped. Grab your 3 or 4 clubs. I played barefooted one round, just wandering around. Because it's a very laid back, and they've got a little camper, I guess you'd say, out in the middle of the par 3. You can pick yourself up a beverage. They got music going. They got this, like the rock speaker. So it's a very laid back area. So I look forward to hanging around with that.
Sounds like we need to make that a 1075 The Game road trip up to the par 3 course there. Maybe we can get that going at some point coming up next year. As we continue to move towards just more normalcy, I think is, I know it's probably not the best way to put it, but watching the crowds last night in the super regionals. And Bill, yesterday, the entirety of our show basically was spent talking about Gamecock baseball and the disappointing results from the regional, losing back-to-back games against Old Dominion and Virginia, who are set to play this morning at 9, in case you didn't hear, because of bad weather last night getting delayed. They're the only regional that hasn't finished now. 15 out of the 16 are done. The winner of this one will play Dallas Baptist. We still don't know exactly where that will happen. I guess Columbia is still in play for that, especially if Old Dominion were to win as the number 1 seed. But we'll wait the NCAA making things official after today's result. I think yesterday does help soften the blow maybe a little bit for Gamecock fans in that the SEC went 4 for 4. And Bill, you're already shaking your head. Tennessee and Vanderbilt were already in the super regionals before yesterday. Then the 2 Mississippi teams cashed their ticket at home. Arkansas, a pretty dramatic win late last night against Nebraska. And then after that, it was on the West Coast and really late where LSU comes back and uses a balk in the, I think it was 7th or 8th inning to go ahead and end up winning that one at Oregon, 8-7, pull the upset, and Paul Maneri's career continues. So it was 6 of the 9 teams from the SEC moving on. Florida upset and kind of embarrassed as a number 1 seed out in the Gainesville Regional. The Gamecocks out, and Alabama, the other SEC team that did not advance. I believe NC State moving on in that regional, going to take on Arkansas in an SEC-ACC matchup. There's one all-SEC matchup with LSU and Tennessee. Notre Dame, and they get in their SEC matchup is going to be, as I look at it right now, Mississippi State in a 7-10 kind of matchup there. You disagree that was a kind of the best it could have gone for the Gamecock from the Gamecock perspective yesterday? Because I think Carolina fans only get angrier if we've been talking about how good it is, and the Gamecocks not quite good enough to beat a lot of those teams who moved on yesterday. If they would not have moved on in the super regional round, I think a lot of Carolina fans out there would have felt like they've been sold a bill of goods that just wasn't measuring up. So that's why my theory is what it is about yesterday. Where are you at?
No, I don't think anything's going to make South Carolina fans feel good about it's just where the program is expectation-wise, and that I understand. And again, I don't think it's based on what I think it's based on is now 24 years of successful baseball. Gamecock Larry said he heard the same things in the first few years of Ray Tanner's. That's not what I remember. I remember Ray Tanner. This is not a knock on Mark Kingston. I'm just Ray Tanner. What Tim in his 3rd or 4th year, was it his 3rd year they went 50-6? Is that right? First year made the NCAA tournament. 2nd year won the East, if I remember correctly, but didn't make the NCAA tournament. And then in 2000, South Carolina turned into the dominant force that we all grew to know.
Yeah, you're missing the first year actually didn't make the NCAA tournament. So missing the first 3, and it was that 4th year.
So year 4. All right, I'm sorry. 97 is the one I didn't realize. But the bottom line is then that started a string of super regionals and obviously broke through and started a string of College World Series. Mark Kingston is certainly capable of doing that. I know that a lot of people are playing armchair coaches yesterday and today, and look, that's part of it. When you make decisions as a head coach, whether they don't work, you open yourself for criticism. And that was the one thing about Ray Tanner that was unlike anything I had seen. It seemed like he always knew the right button to push, or the correct demeanor to have, or whatever it was, that when his team needed a clutch play. And I don't know, what do you think? The Virginia game in the College World Series exemplified that the most, where I think that was the game that Scott Wingo's out there at second base just snagging wild liners and throwing them to home plate. I think it was Robert Berry at home making a great catch and keeping his foot on the plate. And just, you go back to that wild game between the Gamecocks and the Cavaliers out in Omaha, one of those early years, or back in, I guess, 2011 or 2012. But the bottom line is, I don't think there's anything. And South Carolina baseball is an entirely different animal when it comes to expectations, and that's fine. That's, you get angry people when you don't follow through and succeed. And Patrick and I were, I think, both on the same page yesterday that it's perfectly fair to say it's a disappointment when you have a regional in front of you against teams, fair or unfair, are not as good as the teams you lost to in the regular season. That was kind of my building point for last week. Nothing against Old Dominion. I think they're a good baseball team. Virginia's a good baseball team, but they're not Arkansas. They're not Tennessee. They're not Mississippi State. You faced that. That was part of getting you ready for tournament play, and it didn't pay off this past weekend.
Yeah, my point is, if those teams that you mentioned didn't take care of their business in the regional round, then I think you just throw your hands up from the Gamecock perspective, like, oh, they weren't even that good to begin with. If Southern Miss, for instance, scoots through, was that the Ole Miss regional, or some non-name brand teams do that. That's why I think it can make you feel a little bit better. I guess the SEC could technically get 5 of the 8 teams in the College World Series now. You're guaranteed one with an all-SEC matchup in one of those super regionals. So it will be something, I think, that is very, very much on the back burner now for Gamecock fans, for even baseball fans in the state of South Carolina. Easy to follow the NCAA postseason when your team's involved. I think when it's not, it just turns into a much different feel. And unfortunately for the Gamecocks, that's how it ends this year, with 34-23 and not being able to get through the regional in Columbia. That will wrap up, we presume, this morning as the 16th and final regional to wrap up in the NCAA tournament, moving to that super regional round coming up this weekend. Certainly move on and talk some football with you as well. That Nick Saban extension to 2028 leading the headlines yesterday from the Alabama perspective. I don't even get why they have to put a number on it. Just go lifetime contract. That's just my theory. Interested in hearing from you this morning. 803-404-6100 is the number. You can call or text. We're just getting going here in hour number 2 at 7:13 on June 8th. I had to double check and look at my phone there for the date. Off season for college football is a couple of months to get warmed up. That gives us plenty of time to talk as much college football as we would like to. You're listening to The Early Game. It's 107.5 p.m. Billy just hit us up on the text line. The last text Billy sent us was last Tuesday, right? No, 2 weeks ago Tuesday. I gave up on Gamecock Sports. That's why y'all haven't heard from me in a while.
Okay. But when he texts, I don't know. What was this we were talking about? Terrell Owens, Michael Irving, Randy Moss.
We were doing. You were out that morning. I think Patrick and I were going through. It was a ridiculous list from NFL history, who were we talking about that day, Patrick, that had most receiving yards per game in his career? And why it's not even popping right into my head immediately.
Was it not when Julio Jones stuff started?
It must have been Julio, right?
That's the only thing I can think of. Because that's probably around the time where the rumors really heated up.
Well, I was out on that Tuesday. Was I filling in for Heath that day, maybe?
I think so.
Oh, Billy's watching on the live stream.
Attaboy, Billy. Might have to pop through yet.
So let me ask this. Is hot sauce and buffalo sauce different?
Yeah.
Yes.
What exactly is the difference?
Well, buffalo sauce is one type of hot sauce, right? You can have the more pepper-based one, I think, as opposed to, I guess that obviously has some pepper in it, but I think you can just kind of flavor it however you want to. Patrick, you're more the expert there, being the old
I would just call buffalo sauce, but yeah, I mean, like Tabasco and buffalo sauce are obviously different, but Tabasco, the hot sauce.
Buffalo is thicker. So last night,
wing sauce is thicker, but there's like thinner buffalo sauces. But yeah, I mean, there's also thicker hot sauces.
Yeah, because last night I fixed some like little chicken tacos, and I didn't have. I wanted to use buffalo sauce to have like buffalo chicken tacos, but I didn't have any buffalo sauce. So I'm gonna go to the store today, but I had hot sauce. So I'm sitting here debating: is hot sauce and buffalo? I mean, I know it's kind of like it's kind of like, what is it? Tabasco has like a jalapeno flavored hot sauce. So is it just different flavoring, I guess, or is there actually difference in the way it's made or what it's made from?
I'm sure there's different, but they're still interchangeable.
Buffalo juice.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Patrick. Buffalo sauce has a different flavor.
Did you hear what Jen said? There's
no, I block her out. What you say?
Sauce. That's awesome. Buffalo juice and buffalo sauce. Everybody knows that. Come on, Bill.
Very clever.
They are interchangeable though. Even if you don't have buffalo sauce, if you have hot sauce, you can still put it on chicken. Like
you know,
wings.
I hate to say, did you ever try the Old Bay hot sauce?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great.
I've got a whole bottle, and again, I've had some on some shrimp, and that's okay. But I haven't been able to be a fan of Old Bay hot sauce on anything other than like a shrimp or maybe a little bit of a fish.
I don't even put hot sauce in that much stuff. Mostly just eggs, and then anything else like chicken and stuff. I just use sriracha. I'm a sriracha guy.
I use sriracha for some things, but I'll put a lot of hot sauce on. Like I'll get chicken salad from Old Timey Meat Market and put it on crackers or on Tostito chips.
Yeah.
And I always put hot sauce on that. I've got a couple different ones. My brother-in-law gave me, and I still got it. I had some kind of like sweet, thick hot sauce, like $15 a bottle. I'd put that on eggs because it's got a little bit of a sweeter taste to it. That's a thick, dark red sauce.
Interesting. Let's have more sugar.
Billy says you add butter to your hot sauce to make buffalo sauce.
You know, okay. I actually wondered that. So that okay.
Really?
Not a point, Billy. Chris is a Frank's Red Hot guy.
I haven't been home in a while, but I need to get mumbo sauce and bring it back with me.
Mumbo?
Yeah, it's a DC thing. It's delicious.
Yeah. Around DC mumbo jumbo. Yeah.
You usually get in like it was made in like fried chicken places, and you just get it in like fried chicken and fries.
Yeah, see, fried chicken is another thing I'll put hot sauce on.
I haven't made that in a while.
Fried chicken or hot sauce?
Yeah, haven't made hot sauce either, but
I take, you know what? And again,
we're heading back in.
I haven't eaten like fried chicken, like Bojangles or Rush's or KFC fried chicken in years.
Me neither.
You haven't eaten fried chicken in years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy because that's not one of the things I'm going to cut out of my diet. But like you would think just tailgating, but I haven't eaten fried chicken and it's been forever.
There's no way to
as the live video stream conversation rolls on about hot sauce and buffalo sauce and fried chicken, let me let you know that anytime you want to get a hot take out, check out our hot take hotline. It's there for you. 803-978-6654. Sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settled. You'll see them down in Vista at 600 Gervais Street. That's our hot take hotline. I'm guessing where I'm going to ask a question to lead to this part of the conversation might lead some of you that way, because I know the NBA is rarely on top of mind for us around here. And now that college baseball is done, especially, I feel like I will turn my attention slightly towards the NBA, but maybe a little bit more now that there's 8 teams left. And you guys want to guess the last time one of those 8 teams left won an NBA title?
Yeah, it was like the late 70s, I think.
1983.
And 5 of the 8, I think, have never won, right?
Correct. So there are 8 teams left. The last one of those 8 teams that won an NBA championship in 1983. Bill, you want to give a shot? You want to take a guess? Who won it in 83?
Now I've got to think about who's still left. Would that be the Sixers?
Very good. Then after that, there are only 2 other teams left, and I would not have guessed these 2 teams that have won NBA championships. I guess the 2 other teams that have won that are still alive in the NBA playoffs?
The Bucks count because are we counting them because it's one? Okay.
The other one
that wasn't
count, right?
Huh?
Yeah, the other one was when we were in a different city, but it was still the same franchise, I guess.
I think it's the St. Louis Hawks.
Very good. So the Atlanta still alive. I mean, this is. I feel like in baseball, you always get that conversation, right? Because there's no salary cap. So is there enough parity? Do enough teams win it? And actually, over the last couple of decades, it's been kind of amazingly even out how many different teams have won a World Series from Major League Baseball's perspective. But this set of 8 organizations left in the NBA is wild to me, that the Sixers, Bucks, and Hawks are the ones that have won championships. Then you got Clippers, Jazz, Nets, Nuggets, and Suns. Never won a championship. I have probably been more checked out of the NBA this year than ever, especially after the bubble. I tried to watch a little bit of the bubble last year because at least at one time it was, one of the few sports we had the option to see. I wanted to see how it just looked and kind of product it was, and I definitely watched the Lakers run there, and watching Chris Silva at least be a part of the Heat and their run to the NBA Finals last year was interesting. But since then, since it's gone back to this season, and maybe it's because it was such a short break, the season ended so late last year, maybe that had something to do with it, but just have not gotten into it at all this year. Patrick, I know you were in it from a Wizards perspective and at least appreciated what Russell Westbrook brought to the table and averaging another double in the whole thing, but you're giving me that look like, maybe not so interested.
It's the least I've cared. Every year I care about the NBA less and less. It's just not as fun to watch anymore. Regular season NBA, I just can't enjoy at all. Like I don't find any entertainment in a 135 to 130 game. Like there's no defense played. It literally is a 3-point shooting contest that I feel like the old man take that I would criticize in years past. It's actually spot on. Like it's the NBA is a 3-point shooting contest, but the playoffs have been better, and you see some of the scores a little bit lower. But I mean, still last night it was 122 and 125 for the winning scores. So you're not playing, 85 to 83 games in the playoffs anymore. It's just a different game. If you're not in a giant market, generally it doesn't matter. But this year actually kind of has broken the trend. So this is by far the most competitive the field's been in a long time. My only fear is that Brooklyn will just run through this whole thing because they're outrageously stacked.
Well, I think they set an NBA record last night with 21 threes. They had a 24-point lead at halftime. I think that's part of the deal for me too, Bill, is seeing a lot of non-competitive games, blowout games. Where are you at right now with the NBA and the playoffs and the 8 teams left?
You know what? I don't know if I'm with Patrick on I become less and less interested each and every year. But I really do think, I know there are fans at the games, but the way it's kind of set up for television, I don't feel like it has the same kind of energy level. Again, I tweeted out last night when it was owned, the Islanders Bruins, that series. I don't know whether people get into hockey, and if you're not, it's actually maybe a little bit easier to get into hockey because Brad Marchand, one of the forwards for Boston, is really, really, really unlikable. Or maybe that's just me. Patrick, you're a hockey guy.
No. Everyone, he's a pest. Everyone.
Like, he's wildly unlikable.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you got any ties to hockey, maybe you have a dislike for the Bruins. But that series, it's been physical, it's been intense. The fan bases have been awesome. And then you kind of flip over, and I know that in Canada there's different COVID laws and protocols. I think last night they didn't even have 1,000 in the building from Montreal and Winnipeg. But then you kind of flip over to the NBA, and Patrick, have you watched much of the NBA? Am I overselling this? That just the environment of an NBA game right now compared even tonight, what we'll get with the Lightning and the Hurricanes, it's entirely different. Like the hockey playoffs and the intensity, just what it's coming through on television, it makes it just a more entertaining sport. And I got to admit, I'm kind of with Patrick on this. Like, usually I would bang the drum all day for the NBA. And the Suns Nuggets should be a really fun series. You should be kind of happy for the Suns, the way that they stunk for so many years and they were able to build through draft picks and pick up a few free agents, and now they're actually a pretty good team. And I'm kind of with Patrick on this. I can't tell you if I've watched more than 4 minutes total of the NBA playoffs this year. It's nothing political. Has nothing to do with anything other than I just can't get invested in it. There's not an interest there.
Well, I think last night might be a great example of what you're talking about. You mentioned the Bruins and Islanders earlier in the show. That ended up being a 5-4 game. The other game in the NHL playoffs was an overtime game. The close game in the NBA last night was a 17-point win by the Suns at home against the Nuggets. The other game was a 39-point win by the Nets against the Bucks that I mentioned was a 24-point game at halftime. To me, I think we can overanalyze it and get our hot takes in and be gas baggy and the whole thing about sports in general. What it comes down to me, from a fan standpoint, is how good's the game? Everything else is just mess in a lot of ways. Like, if it's a good game, I think I can latch onto it. I latched on to Arkansas, Nebraska last night. It was a good game, but the environment does have something to do with that, Bill. It's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, though, right? Because I feel like you can't have a really good hockey environment if the game's 6-0. I guess if the home team's winning and the home crowd's going nuts, you can get attached to that thing. But I got attached to Arkansas and Nebraska last night because the upset was right there for the taking for Nebraska, the number 1 seed on the ropes late in that game. And then you see a scene in the 8th inning that is just nuts, where a pinch hitter comes in, seems to be the best pinch hitter in the history of baseball, 7 for 11, hits a 3-run home run, and all of a sudden it's 6-2, and the upset avoided by the number 1 overall seed, and a celebration of baseball goes down. I don't know if the NBA is going to be able to reel me back in for this stretch run, but I do like the way that it's set up for a franchise to get their first championship at least since 1983. And some of these franchises that you mentioned, like the Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul to me is a really likable guy outside of one cheap shot, a couple of cheap shots, I guess.
All of his teammates hating him.
I should say I like his commercials. Let's go. I like Chris Paul in his commercials.
You like Cliff Paul.
Right. I like the new Chris Paul. I think he can be a guy that I could latch on to, and I like the Suns, like you mentioned, good story. I like Devin Booker's ridiculous and very talented in the whole thing. But maybe it is that 3-point shooting contest, the way the game has changed that way. I don't know, because the opposite of that, throw the ball down in the post, right? And that's not necessarily the most exciting brand of basketball to watch. But I think it's kind of overcorrected the other way a lot. And maybe that's what's helped push me in that direction as well, kind of like you, Patrick. But we'll see. It's in an interesting spot. And typically this is great for the game, right? Franchises that haven't won a championship in forever, and 5 of them never. But I just don't have that feel right now with the NBA playoffs.
I think, and Teddy hits this up, and I think this is interesting for sports in general. And Teddy says the only NBA intake he gets is listening to us talk, and the only reason he listens is because he loves us and loves 107.5 The Game. And Teddy, thank you for that on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. But I do see overall sports in an interesting position right now in regards to coming back out of COVID, with fans being allowed to return to stands, and how you're able to market, because maybe it's me again, and Craig gets us up on the live stream and says he doesn't really care about hockey, but the playoff hockey has been incredible. And you're right. I can't remember exactly when I heard this, maybe last Wednesday or Thursday, I believe, is when I was watching, and the announcers pointed out that prior to the game, whatever game was on, I just thought this was an interesting stat, that 7 of the previous 11 games had gone to overtime. And it has been really good. I think you're seeing, it looks like, again, I mentioned this past weekend, the Braves and the Dodgers played each other. And I didn't have my kids. I thought about maybe trying to sneak over for a game. It was a pretty good series. Tim, I don't know the last time I've looked at a baseball stadium. Yeah, Friday and Saturday night were completely sold out, standing room only. And it feels like you've got sports. I think college football is going to explode when we can all go back, whether it's South Carolina playing Eastern Illinois or Clemson playing Furman. It used to be I don't know if I'll go to that game because it's an FCS opponent and just not that interested. But I think the excitement and what we see from college football and even the NFL is going to be unreal this year, and the way they're able to market and continue to those two sports are always going to be at the top of the line. But I think you're seeing it's interesting to see sports come out of the pandemic when you didn't have fans, and now you can go back into the arena, because I would have told you the NBA was ahead of a lot of sports organizations. I feel like somewhere along the line they've missed the boat, and they're losing traction. And at least to me, maybe there's others out there that disagree with me, but I feel like they're losing traction very, very quickly.
It's weird. The NBA is such a highlight league. It's the young people are apparently loving the NBA, and that's their demographic is much younger, but they just watch highlights on Twitter. There's not as many people watching full NBA games. And then hockey, I mean, the atmosphere is electric because the fans are rabid, but there's just not as many of them. So it's I think the joke is that there's 30,000 NHL fans in every city, and they all have season tickets. So every game is the same people, but
right.
That's just kind of the idea. It's just they're rabid. They just love hockey. Hockey people love hockey, and then football is the only thing that if you don't have a team in the fight or you're not invested, you're still going to watch it no matter what.
Did you start that hot take with apparently the young people? That 25-year-old Patrick Perrette going apparently the young people?
I'm not one of them. I'm telling you, I'm falling out of love with the NBA, and other people my age are getting more and more into it. So
solidifying my stance that you are the oldest 25-year-old in the history of mankind. 803-404-6100 if you would like to join the show. We kick off the second half. Coming up next, it's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Oh, man, yesterday, speaking of feeling older, I was feeling my age yesterday. The 1-year-old, I'm convinced this is the terrible twos a year early. It's happened to my now 14-month-old, all over the place, into everything. And it makes me appreciate having some professional help around our house. Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning's been out to my house a couple of times, and Zero Res has done a great job. They clean my carpets, clean an area rug for me, freshen up the tiles in both the kitchen and the bathroom. And I expected good results, but what I didn't expect was to feel good about Zero Res being in my house because of the way that they do things. They have a patented powered water system. It means no harsh chemicals involved. in their cleaning process. I had nothing to worry about when it came to my little guys, plural, and now as the summer's hit, getting in and out of the house and bringing stuff in and out of the house even more and dirtying up the place. Well, Zero Res took care of that. If you want to get your house looking its best for the summertime, certainly recommend you check them out online. You can book your appointment today at ZeroResColumbia.com. You can give them a call at 803-262-4020. 3 rooms with carpet cleaned, only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. That's 803-262-4020. ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Glass, a true reflection of quality.
What can we get going on the whiteboard today, Patrick? Is the question.
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it.
How about we rank our sports?
Like professional and college or sports?
Yeah, no, professional and college. Your top 5.
I always said my daughter got one in comparable to. She was 1. And I think she got out of it about 19.
So you're saying there's light at the end of the tunnel. Good news. Long tunnel.
Yeah, by the time she moved out, yeah.
Yeah, but that is a different set of circumstances, one that I am happy to not be a part of. I can handle the male issues much better than the female issues, having had 2 sisters growing up.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I always said my daughter was more emotionally challenging and my son more physically challenging. Just, Yep.
That was effortless.
Beautiful. That's how it should be. All right, I'm going to write my list down right now, too. Bill, can you do yours? Top 5 sports as you sit here right now that you're most interested in.
Six is where it would actually get difficult for me. Top 5 is a breeze.
Now, is this defined as the sports that I will sit down to watch?
Your call.
Yeah, your favorite.
Well, okay. See, I'm doing it as sports things I will sit down to watch.
Let's see, Patrick's is. I only have 3 of the same ones as yours, sir.
I think I know which 2 they are.
I'm guessing I'll only have 3 in common with Bill, too.
My list is going to be different, y'all. Y'all aren't going to like me because I'm changing the terms a little bit here.
Fail. Okay.
Y'all are going to be very upset with me when I read my list to you.
I'm sure there's going to be racing.
Your top 5 favorite sports or leagues.
These are the 5 things that I want to watch, that I will sit down to watch.
It's not what the question was, though.
I told you you're not going to like what I do. Four of them make sense. The fifth one, you're going to be mad at me and say it doesn't count.
Well, at least it won't be as bad as Craig's 5th one.
My computer's moving real slow this morning, but I was reading Twitter's. Hey, okay, nice to meet you, Todd. That explains who that was. He was super nice. He's like, "Hey, man, enjoy the show." I was like, "Man, you got to find something to do better on your mornings."
Nice work, Todd.
Yeah,
All right, head back in.
Yeah, good meeting you too.
So this is the 21st version of meeting people who just don't even get their name. Hey, just hit us up on the live stream.
Yeah, he said he watched on the live stream, but I was like, yeah. But yeah, we never said like, hi, I'm Bill. Hi, I'm Todd. It was just like, hey man, nice to meet you.
Guys are up.
Coming off our discussion about the NBA just in that last segment, how there are 8 teams left and no one's won an NBA championship since 1983. The most recently, 5 of the 8 teams never won a championship. And I think we're all in agreement how our interest in the NBA here, Patrick, you said the older you get, the less interested you get. Bill, you're not quite sure if that's what it is or just maybe the fact that you have become more of a hockey fan here recently than an NBA fan. Me, I don't know what it is either, but right now, specifically last night, what I found myself most interested in was still college baseball. And it's making my list that led me to ask you guys on the video stream there, sponsored by Buford Lending, by the way. You can find us Facebook, YouTube Live, on Twitter, the station handle at 1075 The Game. Top 5 sports right now, in your opinion. Patrick's got it up on the whiteboard. Patrick, you're going to go 1 through 5. Your top 5 sports as we sit here today, June 8, 2021. I think also, Bill, part of your gas baggy hot take in the last segment got me thinking about this. You're talking about sports just kind of being in an interesting place in our worlds coming out of everything that everyone went through with COVID. I think it's a great time to kind of reassess because we've all had to hit the reset button to a certain degree. And I think that may have shifted a lot of our attitudes towards sports in general. Patrick, 1 through 5, would you say your list 1 through 5 right now, the exact same of what it has been in the last several years, or do you feel like yours has evolved a little bit over the last 14, 15 months?
No, I think this is pretty spot on to what it's been for a while. The NBA has dropped off, but I think it still would have been just outside the top 5. And I do think that's influenced by the fact that the Wizards have been really bad for a long time, or not really bad, but they've never been a 50-win team. They've never been a real contender, so it's hard for me to really care that much. If the Wizards were a contender, I think I would care a lot more.
Gotcha. So give us your 1 through 5.
So the first 2 are obviously football, NFL and college football. Number 3 is just, I don't follow it year round, or I kind of do, but I'm not invested in it year round. But college lacrosse is just my favorite thing to watch. Like if I have 2 hours, I just get such enjoyment out of watching like a Maryland lacrosse game just because I played it in college and I know the game and how fast it's growing. It's being played at such a high level right now, like better than ever before. So I just love college lacrosse. So that's easy on my list. And then college basketball, kind of the same as the NBA. I mean, it's just changing. It's not what it used to be, but I still love it. And March Madness is still the single best postseason in all of sports. And then the NHL is number 5.
Okay, interesting list. Bill, let's hear yours 1 through 5.
Well, Patrick actually, I'm actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went all the way through 8 just because when you started saying how much has the last year impacted what I would want to sit down and watch, I realized that the NBA now is at the very bottom and college basketball is outside of the top 5. 4 of them are simple. One of them y'all might argue with. These are just events I would like to sit down and watch. Any college football would be 1. I actually had NHL playoff hockey ahead of NFL. I will playoff hockey to me is as fun as anything. NFL was number 3. This is the one I think you guys are going to be upset with me because they say specific sporting event, but I've watched it now every year for like the last 5 or 6 years, and I go out of my way to catch. Yeah, I was going to say I go out of my way to catch it.
Specific.
It's one event. It's one event, and it's a big deal. But I couldn't tell you.
He said Kentucky Derby.
Right, that was my guess, Patrick. That's all I got.
Kentucky Derby.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, Kentucky Derby.
Horse racing would have been the answer, but you don't follow horse racing, so it's not in your top 5.
Thank you, Mr. Rules over there. And then PGA golf was number 5.
You mean you could have just put the Masters by that logic?
No, because I'll sit down on a Thursday.
We're talking about sports, not one race of a sport. You cheated, and you did it knowingly. You did it on purpose, and you just wanted to ruin the game.
It's my game, Patrick.
It's not your game. Tim came up with the game.
And I took control of it. I put down a sport I wanted to
You
watch.
derailed.
You put March Madness.
No, I didn't. I put college basketball.
And he mentioned.
We don't hear you talk college lacrosse at all except for championship weekend.
Oh no, he would do it every single day. We just don't allow that.
But let me just finish. It's interesting because, and I think
you got a 5.
I think this might change when we get fans back in the stands. The one that surprised me as I came to the list is that college basketball is outside of the top 5. college basketball would move back up because I really did like it, but I realized how much Patrick and I talked about it a lot. When you take the fans out of the arena, how much it really changed the game. I agree with Patrick. College basketball is evolving quickly with the advent of players now, top rated players being able to go to the G League. I actually think long term, it's going to be good for the sport because you're going to have guys that want to be in college basketball. And I think you're going to go back to you're not going to be able to, we're going to ask the same questions. What if LeBron had gone to college? What if Kevin Garnett had gone to college? How fun would have it been if Kobe Bryant had been in college? But what you're going to end up getting is now you're going to weed out the guys who don't really want to be there. And I think it'll go back to being able, college basketball, you'll go back. It's going to take 5 or 6 years, I think, but you're going to get back to guys that love playing college basketball for the universities, and you're going to define those relationships with those players, like with a Grayson Allen or a Christian Laettner that you completely despised, or guys that maybe, again, going back years ago, Juan Dixon comes to mind for Maryland. Patrick is a guy that you developed an affection for, even if it wasn't your players. I think college basketball will come back because you're going to.
I think that's why I was so into the Big Ten last year, is because it kind of ties in with the NBA being a 3-point contest these days. Like the Big Ten was dominated by big men last year. Like Luka Garza is a 4-year player and like the highest scoring player in Iowa history, and like Kofi Coburn and these big guys that their games aren't translated to the NBA. So it's almost like a throwback style college basketball because it's dominated by big men at this point, just because they're not one and done guys, because there's not really a home for them in the NBA.
I think college basketball, that what's happening is good, will in the long term be good for the sport, because you're going to weed out again the guys who just they know they're one and dones. Their interest is only there for a certain period of time. I just think it's going to take a while to get to that. And college basketball will make a good return. Yeah, it's going to kind of stink not seeing some elite level players go play college basketball, but I think it's going to be kind of fun. But again, I think that's years away. Major League Baseball, maybe it's just because it was the first kind of I watched, what was it, I feel like it was the Nationals and the Yankees. It was like the first game back last year.
Well,
sat down and watched all 9 innings. Maybe it's just me getting older and trying to slow down some, but I feel like I'm more willing to watch a Major League Baseball game now. If you said, all right, I'll give you a regular season or a playoff game, Major League Baseball or NBA, a year ago, Tim, or I guess 2 years ago when we were full-fledged, I would have taken the NBA every time. Now, as we sit here right now, if you say, all right, you can watch I don't know who's playing in the NBA tonight, but if you give me whoever the playoff game is in the NBA tonight versus a regular season Major League Baseball game, I'm probably going to tune into the Major League Baseball game.
What about you? Top 5 sports as you sit here right now. The question was asked on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Is the NFL and college football considered different? Yes, absolutely. So we're definitely delineating now between college and pro sports, even though they might be the same sport. It's an interesting list, and several of you have already put yours in on the live videos and the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Jen and I will give you ours as well as we continue to roll on here in hour number 2. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5.
107.5 The Game. The Game is on air. On the air. On your phone or tablet on the app Alexa.
Oh, it's that time. Tell you about my buddy, the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder. First Palmetto Bank. He and Brian Kovar are doing big things, helping lots of people out right now. You hear me talk every morning about saving money on your mortgage payment. That's been something that we've tried to hammer home. Interest rates are low. If you refinance right now, you can save money. But maybe what you didn't realize is you can get some money back. You got a little bit of money in escrow. There's people out there right now. If you don't check your mortgage statement, You need to today. And then give Jacob and Brian a phone call, 803-719-1005. You might be able to drastically improve your finances and at the same time improve your life. You can save money, get some money back, pay off bills. You ought to listen. They had a great friend the other day that they were able to help save a little bit of money, but also get money back, pay off a large debt that was owed on a credit card, all because they refinanced. Go with the Guru Boys, Jacob and Brian, 803-719-1005. You can email Jacob Crowder, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER, at firstpalmetto.com. Again, I know mortgage payments sometimes a lot. We don't pay attention to them. We just know we owe them. You get the statement, maybe just throw it right in the trash. Take a look at yours. See exactly where that money's going and what you might be able to save, and then give Jacob Crowder and Brian Kovar a call. 803-719-1005. That's Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank.
When you get a chance there, Patrick.
We do have a report of an accident, Buckner Road.
All right, it's getting the old text line up and moving this morning.
Is it?
It took me a while. Daniel just sent his list and then put a whole bunch of numbers at the end just to show how much he didn't like Major League Baseball, I guess. I was like, is that a phone number? What am I missing there?
So it's down the list, is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
See, Ty, I know that there's a lot of people that say MMA, but like, are you buying fights every weekend, or do you have like the fight pass? Because like MMA is a very expensive sport to follow on a week to week basis.
ESPN Plus doesn't do it for you?
You have to buy, like, ESPN Plus, I think, plays a couple of the fights, but I think there's still pay-per-view every weekend, like for the main card.
Oof.
Maybe it's not every weekend. Maybe it's every couple weekends, but.
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating. But what I'm noticing, I guess I'll try to save it for the air. But Patrick, your list, you have lacrosse at 3. Bill, what did you have at number 3?
NFL.
The NFL. Where'd you have the Kentucky Derby next?
That's just such a cop-out answer because, like, Ty says boxing, and like, yeah, I mean, if when Wilder and Fury have their rematch, like, I will watch that above any other sport that will be on that night.
But I understand what you're saying. But the Kentucky Derby is a yearly event,
but it's not
and I want to say that because I've gone out of my way the last 5 or 6 years to like watch the Kentucky Derby.
But it's not a sport. Did you watch the Belmont on Saturday?
I actually no, but Saturday also completely got away from me. I would have. The answer is yes, I would have. But we got called out. I got called out on the lake. I didn't catch anything I wanted to watch Saturday. That's an unfair question. I would have. I mentioned it multiple times in the morning that there was a great sports day. You had Canes Lightning at 4. The Belmont, I think ran at either 6:20 or 6:40. Obviously you had South Carolina baseball at 7.
Where's my pointer? It says top 5 sports, not top 5 sports events.
Fine, horse racing.
Well, you're lying.
No, I'm not.
You are.
I go out of my way to watch a race.
You're a liar.
No, that's a perfectly horse racing. Although I got to admit, you said March Madness. I might take out the.
I didn't say March Madness.
March Madness.
But you did qualify. You know,
March Madness.
Yeah, he did say March Madness. Well, that's not a sport.
No, I said I like college basketball, and then just is part of the greater thing. I said March Madness is still the greatest postseason event. It was just part of the whole of college basketball.
We will
Number
have less than a
4.
minute.
Number 4 does say NCAA hoops.
Yeah, I think I might put March Madness in ahead of that. I can see.
Everyone sees what you're doing right now, Bill. You're derailing.
Following the list, following the orders that you guys do.
You're the Brad Marchand of the early game.
Gonna
I
have
think we
about
are about
40,
the same height.
45 seconds. You guys are up.
Top 5 sports right now. Quarter hits us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, says the sparring between Bill and Patrick. I think I've moved to the top sport I'm most interested in. That's basically in the last 5 or 10 minutes of them. But when I ask a simple question, what are your top 5 sports right now? And Bill throws in the Kentucky Derby in there.
Right.
That's what has
Horse
Patrick
racing.
going.
Horse racing.
15.
Horse racing.
Yeah.
Patrick could be done
Big
with
race
that.
this weekend. Where are they racing?
That's an off week. They were at Belmont last week.
All of them.
5.
All of the horses.
The ones that matter. The rest of them got to get tested now. You got to take a week off for everybody to get tested and gear up for the next one.
Hour 3 should be interesting. It's next.
I think it's funny just talking about horse racing like it's NASCAR and all of the horse races just go from city to city every week.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's not NASCAR and it's not golf.
And see, and I don't know that I could delineate NASCAR and IndyCar. Like, to me, it's racing.
Yep, you got to delineate different sports, right?
I think I've been to more horse races. I've definitely been to more horse races than NHL games.
Jen, do you have time to stick around if I say this stuff right after the show? Do you have
Yeah.
a few extra minutes, or you got to bolt for something?
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, you guys, yeah, the Marchand thing, Trey. Marchand, the little ball of hate.
It's not even slander. It's a fact. He's a pest, and he's an incredible player. Just
That
look
goal,
at-
that first goal last night was that was wild.
Yeah. He's outstanding as a player, but that's what he
Tim,
is.
did
He's
you
an educator.
email me that parking pass?
I did not. Thanks for the heads up. I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, that Bruins top line is the best line in hockey by a mile, but he's still a pest.
He is annoying. I agree with that.
Coming to you right now, Jen.
Okay.
The guy who's playing with us, who's picking this up, his name is Chuck.
Okay.
Chuck
Chuck what?
Bach Knight. That's
Okay.
his last name.
That makes sense. I don't think we're making Chucks anymore.
My nephew is he goes Charlie. Goes by Charlie.
762 subscribers. We're getting there. Oh. Get up and stretch a little bit. All right, I need to go to the grocery store today. I need buffalo sauce and coffee.
Nothing gets me going in the morning quite like a buffalo coffee.
Yeah, now that would be, I'd try it.
You got that question from Trey there, Patrick? If Marchand's a pest, what's Tom Wilson?
Well, the thing about Tom Wilson versus Marchand is Marchand's a little guy, and he like bothers people but doesn't walk the walk. Like he'll poke people in the face with a stick or hit him in the back of the legs or hit him in the crotch. Tom Wilson he'll actually fight people. Marchand doesn't do that. So the difference is Tom Wilson is tough.
Marchand like pinches you and then runs away.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't think we can celebrate yet, Trey. I do remember the double digits, but when we get to quadruple digits, then I think we made it.
Yeah, we're going to
Probably say, oh, wait till we get to 5 digits. Sorry to be that guy. But couldn't have done it without you, Hope. Trey will give you maybe 1% credit. Hope gets 99.
There you go.
No, Tom Wilson would be a bully if anything.
What, can you still use the term goon, or is that not allowed anymore?
No, goon works, but he's also good at hockey. So I mean, like Ryan Reeves is a goon.
Gotcha. I'm glad we can agree on that 1% number.
We didn't talk about Bruce Schenker.
Yeah.
If you want to bring
So
that
there's
up.
actually an article up on sports on Yahoo. Looks like it came out this morning. Yeah. Pete Thamel. College football is embracing the idea of a 12-team playoff. Yahoo spoke to more than a dozen stakeholders Monday on every side of the playoff decision. University officials, athletic directors, media executives, and others around college sports. Let's see. Television and also in the television world have expressed an openness toward a 12-team playoff as the most likely result. The 12-team model has emerged as the favored outcome over the 8-team playoff within the industry.
So 4 teams would get a bye? Is that how that would work?
It doesn't really break down what the multiple sources cautioned against predicting a definitive outcome. The complications that come with group dynamics, talking about all the people that have got to agree on this, varying agendas are real. There's also no plan to present or discuss any specifics of what the financial ramifications would be from a new television deal that would come with an expanded playoff.
But why not just write, hey, we talked to some people because it's June and we got to write some articles and we got nothing else to write about, nothing substantial.
I like this. Pete Thamel circles back. So he says everything that says, in other words, even if a potential model is picked later this month, there'd still be months of hand-wringing, planning, and negotiations before a news release announces a formal deal. With that said, the acknowledgement that a 12-team playoff is the current favorite came from all corners Monday. We're back. How would a 12-team work? The basic thought is automatic bids for the 5 major conferences, which also juices up their league title game as play-in games, and one for the highest ranked group of 5 champion. The other 6 spots would be at-large bids. The thought is the first 4 teams would get a bye, and teams 5 to 8 would host the teams 9 through 12 at home sites. Interesting.
All right, heading back in.
All right.
Wow. Guys are up.
All over the map through 2 hours this morning. Just how we like it here on the early game. Tim Hill, Bill Gunter, Patrick Perrette, Jim Jensen, all with you. Full house. Hope your Tuesday's off to a good start. June 8th. June will be kind of like this, I think. We'll be all over the place to a certain degree, especially now that Gamecock baseball is done. 6 SEC teams, 4 of them yesterday, but 6 out of the 16 in the Super Regionals coming from the SEC. Both Mississippi teams yesterday, Arkansas last night in dramatic fashion, and then late last night, LSU out in Oregon continues its upset run, keep Paul Maneri's career going. And so it's going to be 6 SEC teams in the last 16 left. The Columbia Regional this morning, about an hour from now, gets going over at Founders Park as the final regional to conclude with Old Dominion and Virginia playing. And it turned out to be 7 out of the 16, I guess, decisive game 7s, the winner-take-all games, but kind of pushed to the max in these NCAA regional baseball. So that kind of led us into our conversation. Bill, we were talking about how many Gamecock fans will continue to follow the NCAA baseball tournament, and you said probably not many. From your standpoint, it'd be difficult to get into. I was still watching last night. I think I'm going to watch, and college baseball makes my list right now. Got into the discussion of your top 5 sports as you sit here right now, and maybe it's different this year as opposed to last year or the year before because of the break in sports that we all had. Maybe it's the exact same. Patrick's list on his whiteboard in front of us on the video stream, YouTube, Facebook Live, on Twitter as well, at 1075 The Game, the station handle where you can see it. The NFL number 1 for you, college football number 2. Then it's more of the niche sport in lacrosse at 3. College basketball and the NHL rounds out your list. A bunch of you have sent us your lists as well. Danny going with college football number 1, baseball, golf, soccer, and the NFL. Jason, college football number 1, the NFL, college basketball, tennis, and college baseball on there. Troy also with college baseball down at number 5 on his list, and college basketball moving up to 4, and Major League Baseball, NFL, and college football. Bill, what I'm seeing as a couple of trends here, and my list is similar to what Troy just popped up there. College football number 1, NFL 2. Then I've got college baseball 3, Major League Baseball 4, and college basketball at number 5. I feel like college football is leading most lists for sure, and the NFL is typically up there, not too far behind, I think, for most of these lists. Then I've also noticed that a lot of people have a bit of a niche sport, like Patrick has lacrosse. You wanted to throw in the Kentucky Derby in general. Patrick will not allow it, made you change it to horse racing. To me, I got college baseball in there as certainly much more of a niche sport. Jen, what about you? Do you have your top 5 list of as we sit here right now? And we are delineating between like college football and the NFL, or we're making Jen delineate between NASCAR and Indy racing.
I would say probably NASCAR number 1, college football 2, college baseball I think would be 3, Major League Baseball 4, and IndyCar 5.
Well, that brings up a little bit of it's where we're a little backdated on this, about 40 minutes, but it brings up some news that we've discussed, but now has been confirmed by David Cloninger. As you guys say baseball, David Cloninger, the Post and Courier, has reported that Founders Park will be the Super Regional host site between Dallas Baptist and the winner of this morning's Old Dominion Virginia game. It will take place at Founders Park. Bad news, Patrick. There could be tons of Dallas Baptist fans pouring into town, blocking your trip to the river this coming.
But don't we have a listener who was it father or grandfather was a coach for Dallas Baptist?
Yeah, I think that might have been Trey back in the day.
Honorary graduate, honorary doctorate.
Oh, that's what it was, and it ended up being a track coach at Carolina. Why, Bill? Why the announcement this morning? Does Dallas Baptist just have to start booking their travel? And if I'm Dallas Baptist, I believe they were the 3 seed in their regional, and if Virginia wins as a 3 seed, why would it make more sense for Virginia to stay in Columbia as opposed to Dallas Baptist to stay in Fort Worth? That doesn't make any sense logistically.
Why are you? I'm not on the committee. I don't make these decisions.
Because Columbia is a rocking place to hold a Super Regional.
Well,
the DFW metro
according to
stimulated.
if you're following the timeline on this did get announced or come out after Gamecock Larry's phone call.
Oh.
Basically calling for the revenue to be brought to Columbia, that our food to be eaten, our hotels to be used. I mean, I feel like
He's
the
been on the phone.
argument sway. The committee was actually, they were all in their little studio making the picks this morning. Their radio was clearly tuned into 107.5 The Game. Several of them heard the pitch from Gamecock Larry, and the next thing you know, it looks like we have Super Regional Baseball at Founders Park.
Wait a second. Do you think all workplaces are studios?
Are they not? Depends on what you're doing. I mean,
Especially if you're working out of a studio apartment.
right now, I'm in my studio. Where are you guys at?
My garage, sir. My garage. Speaking of Gamecock Larry, by the way, gave us a call a little earlier today and threw some props out to, also threw his daughter under the bus. And what was the line?
And former
He
wife.
said,
He took down the whole family this morning.
Never take your daughter or wife to the doctor. They'll tell them everything. I
Got
think
that right.
what?
Because you know what? We learned with my dad. He would just sit there with his hands folded and his head down. He's like, I have no chance. I can't lie. I can't just, they're staying here and they're going to tell it all.
Wow. Dr. Bulldog, a fine medical professional that helps out Gamecock Larry, says he's super glad to hear the Gamecock Larry's feeling better at home. His top 5 list is college football number 1, 2, and 3. And then he says way behind, he actually does fill out the top 5. Major League Baseball, the EPL. Is that soccer, Patrick? Can you help me out?
Yeah.
Is
Some
that
people are
European
cheating because they put
Premier League?
international soccer. At least this person
Right.
put one particular league.
So that's the Premier League, is that correct?
Yeah, English Premier League.
English Premier League, way off.
That is the top league.
Okay. PGA and college baseball rounds out Dr. Bulldog's list. So it's really interesting to me to see these lists. I guess also a follow-up question here, Bill. You kind of took it as, all right, what 5 sports get you to sit down and watch them, or kind of ranking it that way?
Well, I think I could take it a little bit further and say what 5 sporting events. Yeah, what not, yeah, like the sporting, like, I don't know if you consider, like when Patrick said March Madness at this point in time, because I wouldn't have had, coming off of the year that it was, I would not have had college basketball in my top 5 right now. College basketball actually might have been behind me. It was a bad year, right, Patrick? Like, I feel like you and I are pretty kindred sports spirits aside from the lacrosse thing. We get into, we seem to have the same take on the NBA, college basketball. We seem to have the same take. It was a really bad year for watching college basketball. Even the NCAA tournament for me was a struggle to really get into.
It wasn't the same. The crowd is such a factor in college basketball. It's just such a huge factor. That's such a large part of why I like it, especially growing up going to Maryland basketball games. It's a basketball school, and it's absolutely electric. Like, that is where I came to love college basketball. So it's 100% influenced by the fans. Last year was not the college basketball we know and love.
I'm with you guys on where college basketball was. So, and again, that's why I think it's important to do it as we sit here today and as things have evolved. It's also coming off the NBA playoffs down to 8 teams, and the 76ers, the most recent NBA championship winning organization in 1983. 5 of those 8 teams have never won an NBA championship. So on paper, I would say, oh man, I love an underdog story. And I love basketball. Certainly used to love the NBA, but it hasn't been the same for me since the Michael Jordan era. I feel like Steph Curry and the Splash Brothers kind of brought me back to really enjoying, especially NBA playoff basketball. But here recently, I haven't watched much at all. And maybe it was because of the bubble and not seeing fans there. Maybe in my brain, somehow, I think in my brain, I feel like if there's not a big crowd there, then it's not important to some degree. Even with the limitation of, or the exclusion of fans, I don't think my brain has still made the connection that, oh, this is still a really big game. I did watch the NBA Finals last year and got into that to some degree. But this year, maybe it's because now, watching these baseball environments, Arkansas last night, nuts with Nebraska. And then going to the NBA game, which I never even flipped over to because they weren't even close at all and not connected to those at all. I think there's just something when I'm watching these things that if there is a crowd, like you, Bill, you're into the NHL playoffs, and the way that we've just seen it just up the road in Raleigh here in the last couple of weeks, being able to fill those arenas, fill that arena specifically, and get fans in there just makes it much easier to attach to for me when I'm watching, and which is why I think my list has changed here in the last couple of years to a certain degree, where college basketball would have been higher on my list. I think it would have come in third several years ago. But now, after watching almost a complete season where you haven't been able to really attach to it, and certainly the student sections haven't been what they were, and the game has changed as well with the transfers and everything else. But I think that's definitely a big part of it for me. And I think, does that explain why you have the NHL higher on your list as well?
The crowds? Strictly the crowds?
Especially in the playoffs.
No.
Pace of the game.
We've gotten into I think Patrick and I have banged the drum for the NHL. Obviously, this year it's been even better in my opinion. But I feel like we've banged the drum for the NHL playoffs the last few years. That's a sport that's really I've started to enjoy more and more, especially when it comes to playoff times. I'll get into a little bit of regular season. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody I'm watching intently November, December, January, and February. But yeah, you get to the playoffs, man. It's just a different. I think it's become more of an American sport from the standpoint of we're all pretty intense with our sports. It's why baseball was I think slowing down, is because it's a slower sport. There's a lot of time in between pitches. You're trying to relax. I don't think we do a good job as a society of relaxing. I know I do an awful job personally, but with hockey, there's always action taking place. It's always intense. I mean, I go back, I can't remember what night it was. Patrick, maybe you can remind me. I feel like it was over the weekend, where within a span of 45 minutes, because you had both games starting at essentially the same time, Bruins, Islanders, Canes, Hurricanes, Canes, Lightning, excuse me. The way they ended in overtime was just like goals kind of out of nowhere. Yeah. So you're just watching. It's intense. It's not like, okay, it's 3-2, guy on third, here's the pitch that could decide the game. Like, it's just all of a sudden a goal happens, and you're like, wait, is that it? It's over? We're done? Wow. All right. It's a very intense sport. It's kind of, if you can find a team to root for, it probably makes it even more fun. Probably, right now I'm doing a bunch of hate watching. I don't really like the Lightning because of my buddy Andy down in Tampa. I don't really like Boston because of Brad Marchand. I probably should try to enjoy it more and find a team that I'm actually rooting for. But it's a high energy sport with a lot of physical hitting that takes place.
Yeah.
And
it's stuck to its roots more than any other sport, even though hockey people think that it's gotten soft. Other people that don't watch hockey are shocked by the violence. But it's still, I mean, yeah, that's what it is. And the parity is crazy. Like, the Lightning won the Stanley Cup last year, but 2 years before that, they had the most points in a regular season ever, and then got swept in the first round of the playoffs. Like, the crazy things happen in hockey that in basketball, I mean, it's kind of a bad argument to make this year because there's more parity in the NBA than there has been in the past. But normally, they're predetermined outcomes. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's only been one good series so far in the NBA playoffs, and that was the Clippers and Mavericks. I don't think any of the other ones have been competitive as of yet.
So let's get more of a broader sense of this conversation. We are out to the Love Chevy phone lines right now, 803-404-6100. Grant's been waiting patiently to weigh in on this thing. And Grant, you're seeing this from a different perspective here most recently, huh?
when I was watching that.
Well done, Grant. Appreciate you joining the show and your more international perspective. Coming back to the States for the first time in several years, being over in Germany. What did you think of that, Patrick? I see you nodding your head over there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about the U.S. national team game because it was the day after we were just eulogizing the baseball season all morning. But yeah, I mean, it was electric. We talked about it a little bit on the live stream, but amazing game, and all of the young talent that America has was shown that night. So it was just phenomenal. It's the brightest the future's ever been for American soccer by far.
Soccer making a lot of your top 5 lists, and some of you double dipping or triple dipping. Who hit us up here most recently? Chad going with 3 soccer leagues in his soccer number 1 out of 5, and then adds 4 more sports in there. La Liga and Bundesliga. Where is that? Patrick, help me out.
La Liga is Spain and the Bundesliga is Germany.
So you
That's
follow,
why Day
follow all of those?
Yeah. Day said international is different. If you differentiate between NFL and college football, then differentiating between international and domestic is fair. But that's what I was saying. You have to pick. Like, are you waking up and watching the English Premier League on NBC? I can't do that just because it's at 7:30 in the morning on weekends. But yeah, the German league and the Spanish league and the Italian league, like, most people just follow English soccer in America.
Let me ask you guys this, because nobody said it, but I feel like everybody gets into it and watches it, and it would be a definite top 5. But it only happens once every 4 years. We're going to get it this year, or I guess maybe it'd even go 2 years, once every 2 years if you want to include the Winter Olympics. Where do you put the Olympics in it? Bunch of sports. Do you sit down? Like, I realize it's not one, like, nobody's coming out and saying, you know, what is it, ski shooting or whatever? What was the new one? I saw
Doesn't matter. When the Olympics are on, my TV will be on the Olympics the entire time that the Olympics are.
We did have one anonymous texter just say Olympics number 1 event: track and field, boxing, wrestling, volleyball, basketball, swimming. So then you put 6 more in there. We got a counting problem there, and yeah, I guess it's difficult because you say sports. I think it's definitely fallen down my sports totem pole as I've gotten older, and we've been able to see more of these international, or we've been able to see sports broaden and have more international flair in them. The NBA is probably the best example of that in my lifetime anyway. Top 5 sports right now is part of our discussion. We'll get back into that Nick Saban news from yesterday, extending to 2028 from a contract perspective, and knowing that a lot of us have number 1 on your list of top 5 sports, college football. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join the show, you can call or text here. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
It's a new year.
They're hungry. They're driven.
In a new attitude.
I want guys that want to be here, not just going out there to hire some guy that has a famous last name.
It's not some retreads. We're a bunch of guys that I think are ready to.
Interesting conversation because it pertains to exactly right now. Timing is key. I'm talking about your top 5 sports. Timing also key. You know this if you've been in the housing market at any point in your life. My first timing getting into buying a house, not so good back in 2008. Didn't work out great for me. Boy, how things have changed. And right now, as we sit here on June 8th, 2021, the housing market absolutely on fire. Buford Lending wants to help you take advantage. Benji Getzi and his team, with 25 years of experience, they know they've been in this type of situation now for a while, and they can help you maximize all your options out there. I know that personally because I've been through the process recently with Benji, with the expanding family, looking to get into a little bit of a larger house, and the options that Benji has presented to me, the numbers that he's given to me, very impressive. But you can probably get that from almost any lender. What you need to have in a lender is someone you can count on and get you the information, get you specific documents or whatever you need when you need them, because sometimes, especially in this market, you need them quickly and you need to be able to count on your lender. I know I can count on Benji Getzi and his team at Buford Lending, and I know you can as well. Just give them a call on your list right now if you're interested in a new home, refinancing, maybe a second home, a VA loan, whatever it is. Buford Lending has the experience to help you out and get you the best deal. Give them a call. Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
Tim, I don't know if you noticed, just because it just dawned on me, or because we're 2.5 hours into the show. You know, there was a South Carolina basketball news yesterday.
Shingler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like even though he was the longest tenured guy, I never got much of a. I think what is he brought guards? Is that his deal? I think that was the most recent assistant actually. Like, never got the specific role, I guess, because Perry Clark was there for a while. I guess he kept kind of moving up the totem pole with Frank, huh?
He's also from the DMV.
Right. So it makes sense from his standpoint to make that move.
Yeah.
Shingler, the assistant coach from Maryland. I mean, from Carolina, going up to Maryland. I guess the real question is, do people see it as bailing on Frank because of his specific situation? Or can you see it as that? If it wasn't Maryland, then maybe you could, I think.
Yeah.
But it seems like a pretty, from my standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a top 10 team going into next year. Where he's from, Chad, they're the team that the Avalanche are the team that no one talks about around here, but in hockey circles, they're talked about. They're the best team in hockey, probably. I have a Patrick Waugh jersey. That was probably my first hockey jersey, honestly. It was a Colorado Avalanche jersey. Yeah, Kelly, that's good for Syracuse. I mean, John Deska's a legend, but Gary Gait is probably the most famous name in lacrosse history, and Syracuse is probably the most storied program in college lacrosse. I would assume that they're going to do very well under Gary Gait. I've met him. Nice guy. His brand sponsored my college team.
Avalanche? Yeah, I've watched them. I might try and watch them tonight. They play kind of early. Earlier, I should say.
I think they play at 9.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Back in Colorado, though. Vegas is probably the loudest arena.
Yeah, Vegas is, and that's what I'm saying. It's been fun environments.
I saw Sonny say something about Brian Edwards going to that game, that they are electric. I would love to go to the Golden Knights game. 107 years, 4 coaches is pretty nuts, Kelly. It's like the Steelers having 3 coaches in, 70 years or something like that? 50 years maybe? That's too much.
We're about to head back in.
All right.
You guys are up.
News within the hour, the NCAA making the announcement that Columbia will be a super regional host. And I think only stoking more anger amongst Gamecock fans that there will be a team celebrating a trip to the College World Series at Founders Park with a dog pile, I'm assuming, coming up this weekend, and it won't be the Gamecocks. It's an odd scenario for sure that this year the NCAA was saying that only regional hosts would host the super regional. It turned out that neither regional host was going to advance to that super regional when TCU was upset out in the Fort Worth regional, and Dallas Baptist moves on over there over Oregon State, and then the Gamecocks falling in back-to-back games over the weekend, Saturday night and Sunday, Bill. But the number 1 seed still in Columbia could move on, and Old Dominion and Virginia, they play in about 30 minutes from now. ESPN2, by the way. Mike Monaco, I was impressed by his play-by-play, and Gabby Sanchez, the color analyst in that ball game, on the call again for Old Dominion and Virginia, the last regional to be decided. 6 of the 16 super regional teams will be SEC teams after late last night. LSU pulling the upset at Oregon, winning run on the balk, and Arkansas with some dramatics late, breaking open a 2-2 game against Nebraska and moving on there as the number 1 overall seed. Goes into our conversation right now that we're talking about top 5 sports. It's one of the reasons why I have college baseball in there. Also, obviously, Bill, just where we are in Columbia, South Carolina, with the history and the perennial success Gamecock baseball has had through the years. I think NCAA baseball around here much higher and a lot more top 5 lists than elsewhere around the country. I guess that would be kind of what you have, Patrick, in your top 5 list with lacrosse being there much higher in the Maryland area, maybe that a bit of a northeast corridor there where it's a little bit more popular. Obviously, it's growing, but interesting to see these top 5 lists and seeing that college football dominates. Not surprising. I think I'm surprised with the consensus maybe right now that the NBA is not making a lot of these top 5s right now. Major League Baseball not making a lot of these top 5s. Bill, where do you put the level of concern for these leagues right now, knowing that they have the opportunity to get kind of back to normal, if you will, and have more people in the stands, but it might be a convincing people to come out and watch some of these games, even in the playoffs where these organizations, the 8 teams left, haven't won an NBA championship, 5 of them, and the Philadelphia 76ers, the most recent one in 1983.
Well, I think, there's a difference in what you just asked, convincing people to come out and watch them or convincing people to tune in. Like, if you're an organization, I feel like just based on what we were saying about the Braves and having full capacity and actually being sold out for the Dodgers this weekend, if you're an organization, you really like where things stand as far as people getting back to the ballpark and snapping up tickets and wanting concessions and all that. I'd be interested to see what the attendance numbers are. I feel like when we get it for the NBA after the playoffs, it's going to be extremely low. It's going to be extremely low. I feel like the NBA has really lost. I think this conversation 2 years ago was entirely different than what we're having today. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're not in an NBA market. The Charlotte Hornets don't draw a lot of attention. The Hawks, maybe some people have gotten into them because they're young and they're exciting. They're kind kind of a poor man's version right now of Golden State, but Trae Young is fun to watch, and so maybe some people are getting into the Hawks. But I think it's hard. I think personalities like James Harden and Kyrie Irving and even Kevin Durant are exceptionally hard to watch and pull for. Antetokounmpo is a guy that I don't know, Patrick. He just doesn't seem to have the personality. I know he's got a personality because I've seen it, but he just doesn't seem to be the guy that draws fans into him. And
I don't think of Milwaukee as a basketball city either. Maybe they are, and I don't give enough credit, but there's like rare examples of super electric environments. I mean, the Warriors fans were very loud for their dynasty, and when Toronto won the finals, that was an awesome atmosphere. And this year in the playoffs, the Garden was awesome when the Knicks finally had a playoff game there. But other than that, it's been just lackluster to say the least.
Yeah, I think so. I think television audiences, again, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what the numbers are on baseball as we get to the All-Star game and what they've been through the first part. I think, for college football, you've got to be thinking that getting fans back in the stands, just creating an environment is going to help with television numbers. I know it'll obviously get more people out of the houses and back in the stands, but I do think that being I think the NBA is at a weird crossroads right now with how that league is shaping up and what's going on. I wouldn't have thought that 2 years ago, but it feels like it's lost a lot of momentum.
And college football, we talked about it before, how the numbers have declined in a lot of places from a stadium standpoint, capacity standpoint. This was the pre-COVID world. Bill, you're thinking that those numbers will be just fine and maybe then some in 2021 once football season kicks off. But I saw another stadium, maybe Arizona State, announced yesterday they're expecting 100% capacity. I think pretty much everyone is trending in that direction for sure. The possibility of having 100% at football stadiums this fall.
I think attendance for football games is going to be absolutely ridiculous this year. I think off air, we were just talking about it, and Dan Patrick was kind of joking or making fun of, I think Patrick said, of South Carolina fans being out there for a regional and tailgating at 10 a.m. I think for people to get back to a normal way of life and to get out and tailgate and do things that they were able to do 2 years ago without any concern, I think attendance is going to be through the roof this year. Now, unless if you start falling apart and you're 2-8, 3-9, whatever, it might be a little bit different. But with all that being said, I would be shocked if the month of September, some of these games get Michigan, Washington, Oregon, Ohio State, even Clemson, Georgia. I think Patrick brought it up the other day. Tickets to that Clemson, Georgia game or Bank of America Stadium, something like $450 was the get-in price. I think it's just going to be absolutely through the roof.
I tend to agree with you there. To me, it'll be the difference between the big time games that you're talking about, Clemson and Georgia. And then I think the first game at Williams-Brice Stadium will be a good indication for college football around the country, because while Clemson and Georgia are playing that night, it'll be Eastern Illinois, a team that went 1-5 this spring. And clearly, that line will be, imagine, around 35 points or something massive in the Gamecocks' favor. Not on paper any kind of matchup in college football, and yet it can be a celebration of Gamecock football. And especially the season opener, especially a night game at Williams-Brice Stadium. I think what kind of interest that generates as far as people in the stands that day, going out of their way to make the trip and to give up all the comforts at home and everything that's involved with going to a game in early September at Williams-Brice Stadium, even if it's a night game. That's going to tell me a lot, Bill. And that's the challenge, I think, for college football attendance these days. Not for the big games. People still come out for the big games, and Patrick pointing out that ticket price is a great example, but it's for the games that used to just be on pay-per-view, right? And the only way you could really watch them was by going to the game and supporting your team, the whole thing. Right now, that hasn't been the case in college football for a while now. And I think it's been easier and easier for fans to sit at home and watch those games and feel fine with that. Maybe now in the post-COVID world, there will be a bit of a reset and looking at that thing, maybe a newfound appreciation for actually experiencing things in person. I know I felt that going to Carolina baseball game on Friday, that Virginia game, just being amongst all those people and being able to be back in that environment was a good feeling for sure. And I'm with you. I think a lot of fans will want to experience that maybe even more so this fall than they have in the past. I think we're going to see it. Patrick, you with that? Or you've already said you're not going to that opener. You're going to be watching Clemson and Georgia because of just the matchup that is, and that would be too much to give up for your first Saturday night there.
Well, yeah, and I really just love and have gotten used to watching several games at once. I'm just generally not a stadium guy. Like I in a dream scenario would be able to tailgate with TVs and then just like watch the game outside with other TVs on. I love the television product so much. You can see replays and like get the full picture. There's a lot of times when I'm at a game and I don't have a great sight line and I get a little confused at what's going on. It's hard to get depth perception and tell if it's a first down, all sorts of things like that. I think the television product's so good, and I like being able to flip back and forth and have multiple TVs on.
I think what Patrick just said too, it was trending in that direction, and it was trending quickly when you saw overall attendance. South Carolina made their slight move last year, and then obviously COVID protocol defeated it, but there was a reduction of capacity of total number of seats. Basically went from about 84,000 to just a little over 77,000. Years ago, they were talking about adding on an upper deck and jumping into the 90s. Now you're trying to build more amenities. You are adding the club level seating, more amenities for fans to be able to have. I do think college football across the board, the NFL too, probably has an opportunity this year to try and get people back into the stands just because of what Patrick just said. It is a lot. Look, last year I went to 2 home games. Sitting here at my house, just exactly what Patrick just described, sitting here at my house and being able to just move the TV outside. I think 2 or 3 days. It was a home game. We just did ribs on the grill all day long. You're right, Patrick. Multiple televisions were going. I wasn't getting home from a long day of tailgating at 1 a.m. and being exhausted on Sunday and trying to recover. I live close by. I can't imagine what it's like for the people in Greenville or Charleston. I can't imagine if you're a Clemson fan and you got a night game and you live here in Columbia and you got to drive back. I don't know how you do it. Kudos to you. But I think this year is an opportunity for football stadiums, and I think they better be prepared for athletic directors and business executives that try and help handle the money to convince crowds, hey, I know you're coming back for the experience because you haven't been able to do it for a year. This is why you need to keep coming back in the years to come so that attendance doesn't decline again.
Mark, having a different Founders Park experience than me over the weekend, he went to the Saturday baseball game, says was row 19 in the bleachers. It was rough being behind the scoreboard. My mom had to pull up the game on her phone to be able to see. Ha ha, he says. And yeah, that's all part of the challenge that organizations, not just college athletics, but pro sports teams as well have in getting people in the stands. We've seen a varying success. Fortunately, we've seen a lot more people being able to go and fill in these stands and moving in the right direction right now as we sit here this year, especially compared to this time last year, night and day, and something to feel good about, I think, as we continue to discuss this morning the top 5 sports as we sit here, and college football obviously dominating that conversation. Nick Saban, I don't understand what Alabama's doing with a 3-year contract extension. If ever there was an opportunity just to throw the lifetime contract out there, why didn't they do that? Maybe you can break it down from the recruiting standpoint, Bill, when we come back, and some news and notes about some movement from Gamecock football lately on the recruiting trail. It's the early game. It's 107.5.
Oh, man, talking about football season, can you just imagine the summer heat when we get to Labor Day weekend? Whew. There is something to be said for not going and staying home in the comfort of your home air conditioner during a Columbia summer, especially during a football game. But you better make sure that air conditioner is working. I use AAA heating and air. I bring them out to my house even before there's a problem just to have them inspect the unit, because let's face it, when there is a problem, you're uncomfortable, the family's uncomfortable, the family pets are uncomfortable, and then they're all staring at you. Don't wait around. Go ahead and call AAA Heating and Air. Roy and Dana Finley, fantastic people, will make sure that you are taken care of. I've had Billy come out to my house again because I don't want to have angry family members looking at me this summer if something happens and we're unprepared. We went ahead and did an inspection. Turns out there was a few little things that needed to be fixed, needed to add some Freon. Now I feel comfortable. I know that my kids will be comfortable. I'll be comfortable. And we look forward to the incredibly hot summer that you always get in South Carolina. Give AAA Heating and Air a call today, 803-677-1500. Now, the problem is you think, well, if they find something wrong, it's going to cost a lot of money. I'm not going to be able to pay for it. No, AAA Heating and Air, again, will treat you like family. They'll take care of you. The first thing they'll do is give you a $1,500 rebate, buy back your old unit. Then they'll offer you 0% financing, no money down on a brand new unit. They make it affordable for you. That way, regarding life's challenges, they're there to help you. And finally, they guarantee you a 15-year parts and warranty labor deal to make sure you're comfortable with the purchase. Give AAA Heating and Air a call today, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Yeah, Mark, A&M was probably one of my favorite stadiums. It was just clean. It was nice. There's a lot of good things about it. I was a big fan, except for that whole game part.
Alan, I guess I'm just a diehard fan. You can be a diehard fan and not go to games. I'm also broke and don't want to buy $8 beers. I just have a case in my house. Maybe I want to go out that night. I can't afford to do that if I go to the game. There's a lot of reasons.
Sounds like excuses, Patrick.
I mean, like, I went to all the games when the tickets were free. I didn't miss a game when I was a student.
You were paying for it.
Yeah, I'm paying for them now. That's why I can't afford to go to them anymore.
You have to
Have y'all gotten into with the 8-year-old summer camps, summer sports camps?
What about them, Bill?
Are you doing any of them, or are y'all?
Yep, trying to. I don't think we've still officially signed up for any, so we're kind of lukewarm right now. You're going to do a soccer one for Austin?
Yep. Austin's going to go to the River Bluff basketball camp next. We might want to talk about that next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then he's got Kevin Heisey, who hit us up yesterday. He's going to attend grade collegiate soccer camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. The soccer camp's 6 to 7:30 at night. Basketball camp's a little bit earlier.
Whoa. Oh, it's just that hour and a half?
Yeah.
I thought you were telling me 6A to 7:30 P. I'm like, wow. That's
9-year-old. Got to get him out there. Get him ready for one of those Euro leagues.
Trey says, Patrick, you doing any summer camps? I love it.
Man. I want to do like a ropes course.
And I was totally spoiled going to Duke basketball camps like in their heyday. Like Leitner would be playing pickup games. Nuts.
Yeah, that's wild.
Quinn Snyder got on my buddy for like sneaking in a pizza at night. Snyder and Billis were the coolest guys by far that were there. Tommy Amaker was a pretty cool guy too back in the day. Totally spoiled by those kids.
How old was Quinn Snyder? 20s?
He was going to law school at the time. I think he and Billis were both in law school, so they would do summer camps as well because they were already there. And I think Snyder might have been on staff as a GA as well at that point. So this was just after their playing days, or might have been at the end of his career.
I told Bailey Harris I may put Austin in one more basketball camp in August, 2nd through the 5th. I told him I'd actually come out of retirement and help.
Nice. Be good for you.
Yeah.
Instead of just yapping about sports, you actually be a part of them.
So do
I
they
say
still
that.
have
I say that with one ankle brace on currently.
Wait a second, you're doing the show right now in an ankle brace?
Not in it. It's one of those.
Show it. You got to show it.
You can't
Otherwise,
lift his leg that high.
I can't get my foot. I ain't getting my foot out. I'll pull a muscle. That's one of those compression socks.
Oh yeah.
oh my gosh. What's going on? You Allen Iverson over there? You just need to have a sleeve on?
Get the what's Brett Favre peddling? Copper Fit?
Right. You wear one of those on your
I've got to go. I'll be honest. I don't really want to get into details about what happened because then I'll just be made fun of. But I only got one of these compression socks, and I really needed two last night. So I wore this one on my left foot while I slept, and I'm wearing this one on my right foot now to help. Feels better. I should be fine now.
Good stuff
Bailey's over at Ben Lippin helping out. He's doing something there.
All right, we're heading back in.
Well done, Trey. I'm guessing you told that story a time or two.
That's right.
Would love your help a week from Thursday. Summer Blood Drive and the American Red Cross on Bull Street in Columbia, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pre-registration strongly encouraged. Walk-ins are welcome. Just head to our website for more information, 1075thegame.com. Seriously, isn't this what lifetime contracts are made for, this Nick Saban Alabama situation? Bill, why do you think they put out the 3-year contract extension news yesterday to 2028? Is that a calculated recruiting move just to show that any maybe rumors or negative recruiting out there that Nick Saban's about to hit 70 years old and is going to not be in charge at Alabama for a while? This one puts it to bed, but 2028, that just seemed odd to me to slap that year on.
I mean, I feel like there's some legal stuff with this. Like if you do the lifetime contract, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're fearful that Saban, being who he is, just decides he's going to just stick it out until he's like 86 and the program declines, and then you're on the hook. I don't know how. I feel like this was more of a legal thing. Just like, all right, we'll give you the 78. We figure, even if something happens in the next 5 years and you decide you've had enough, we can work our way out of 3 years. I don't know how these. I mean, I feel like a lifetime contract is exactly what the Mets thought. Hey, man, this is what we'll give to Bobby Bonilla, and that'll work out perfectly well. And what they owe Bonilla through 2034, I believe. I know that was different. They were deferring money. They weren't like, yeah, Bobby Bonilla is really good. We should give him a lifetime contract. But I did. I think there's something more to it. I'm sure it's recruiting based. The bigger question is, do you see him going all 8 years of it?
Yeah.
I got no idea. Patrick, what'd you say?
Yeah, I bet he will. Maybe he's just setting himself up to hit free agency again. Signed one more big deal. Dak Prescott only wanted a 4-year deal because he wanted to hit free agency again. Saban will get $20 million a year when he's 77.
The thing about it is this pretty much guarantees him 4 more years. And the reason being is because then you can still use the extra 4. It's 8-year contracts. You get 4. You're still selling recruiting. You get into 5. You get into year 5. Now all of a sudden the kid's maybe saying, well, I'm a 3-year player anyway. I'll be out of here when you're gone, coach. So really, like you said, it's I think it's some legal portion, but it's also recruiting, because now you don't have to worry about a kid going and going, well, coach, you're 70. How much longer are you going to be here? He goes, well, I got an 8-year contract. I'm here as long as I want to be. Don't worry, son.
Yeah, to me, the lifetime deal would have just seen better, but I guess I can see how that could be negatively recruited against if you actually slap a year on it a little bit different. I think as the story goes, those around Nick Saban who saw him have to coach from his house basically, or experience that Iron Bowl this year because of COVID from his house, just solidified their stance that, oh, this guy, you can't retire. It just does not work. He is going to be coaching the rest of his life. I think they're just are those guys, not just necessarily in coaching, but people who just love their job that much, and retirement just doesn't fit them. And good for them. Nick Saban seems to be that guy for sure. What a well-rounded show today, huh? Patrick, I like where we got to on your top 5 sports there, even though lacrosse is one of them. Bill, your hot takes today. The best part on the video stream showing that ankle sleeve.
Thank you. Playing injured.
I guess it's a sock more than a sleeve. Thanks for listening to the early. All right, guys, that'll do it for the live stream here. Appreciate you checking us out. Clinton hit us up this morning and texted in a picture that he had us up on his big screen there. He's working from home, got a promotion, gets to do that.
Nice.
Thanks. Nice job, sir. Thanks for all you guys hitting us up with your top 5s.
Still waiting
Yep.
for my promotion to where, I can work from home.
Deal executive producing.
There
Don't
you
worry,
go.
Jim.
Yeah, so I can-
When that job opens up, you're at the top of the list.
I probably am not going to hold my breath though. So yeah.
See you guys in the morning.